And a very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into Rochester's only local sports talk show. You found the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're tuning in at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app, your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, and our video stream up and rolling on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. Fresh from a Father's Day weekend, I am Mike Danger, and that is Gene Battaglia.
Hey, happy summer. Father's Day weekend, fantastic. How are you today, buddy?
I'm spoiled, blessed, all of the adjectives, hard to come down from the weekend that was. It was a fantastic weekend. How about you?
Yeah, set the tone Friday night going over to the stadium and just to see it packed to the gills. Now, mind you, a lot of people were out there to see Garrett Cole, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was an event. The Wings win, but they follow that up, the Wings, packing it Saturday night, and then drawing 11,000 yesterday? This is great. So, yes, my weekend started off great, enjoying that game. I did stay till the end, watch the Wings walk it off on a sac fly.
I do love that people went just to watch Cole and then left. Like, okay, he's done pitching. We can leave now.
I guess if you had prior plans, maybe, or it is graduation season, maybe that. I don't know. I look, if I paid for the ticket, I think I would want to watch the game. You also had Jason Dominguez there, so it wasn't like he was the only guy for a Yankee fan. Oswald Peraza was there. I mean, Scranton has some players, if you're a Yankee fan, you were interested in. And it ended up being a decent game, 2-1 Wings.
I think that what I liked most about it, now I didn't have the chance to go to the Wings game on Friday because my daughter had a sleepover for her birthday. So we had teenage girls running amok throughout my house, and I was I basically had to hide in my room and watch the Game 4 of the NBA Finals in my room where I knew nobody was going to come in there. Nobody was going to interrupt. No noise, just this. But on my way home, and this is what I love, like there are moments and times when, to me, Rochester feels like a city that's bigger than it actually is. Now, I think when the eclipse happened and there was so much hype around the eclipse, we thought for a moment there that we were going to get this influx of traffic and this influx of economy and visitors and all. And it was largely kind of a dud, right? Like it felt like the eclipse failed to deliver on that expectation.
No, but I want to say when the PGA was in town that whole week,
for sure,
you felt the buzz.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You feel it. There's traffic. There's energy. There's life. And I'm not going to speak to the people that were going 490 eastbound on Friday night because I was going westbound, but I saw a lot of people just stuck in traffic. And I'm like, in one way, it's good because these are all people coming downtown. These are all people going to the Red Wings game. But in the other way, it's like, oh, boy, the infrastructure just isn't there, or these people just don't know how many different ways you can use to get to the ballpark other than just sit on the expressway.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like if you're going to a game in Buffalo, right, and you're not parking near the arena, I'm talking about a Sabre game.
Right.
You're parking a few blocks away. So you just have to have that strategy going in. Again, Sister City's Garage, free parking. It's a 5-minute walk, and you're walking right down to the stadium. Like, that works either way for the Red Wings or for the Hammers. I mean, so have a strategy going in if you know it's going to be a big crowd. If you're not down here all the time, I would understand why you don't know the ins and outs. Like, oh, there's the exit there for no, like not that was the backup yours.
Yeah, and listen, while we have a second, congratulations to Dan Mason and the Rochester Red Wings. I mean, this weekend you mentioned the attendance. This was a record-setting weekend for the club. Their largest weekend attendance number since 1997, since they opened
it. Yeah,
since they opened the new stadium. Congratulations. That's a huge win, a massive win, and hopefully that momentum carries through the summer. Now with the weather getting nice, now with schools letting out or getting set to let out, you can continue to rely on the Rochester Red Wings to give you good summer entertainment throughout these summer months.
Yeah, and sure. I mean, my gosh, like you couldn't ask for a nice. And this is so Mason will be the first to tell you. It's so weather dependent.
Yeah,
a lot of this stuff, and we were kind of blessed. And yes, I know it's going to be hot this week, so everybody just drink a little extra water. But we're going to talk. We got him now. Fairly confident. You will see him in the major leagues pretty soon. But we got him for now. James Wood, Rochester Red Wings, will be joining us shortly.
All right, yeah, we'll be talking to James Wood right around 3:25. We had to reschedule from last week, but we can talk to him about his path to where he is and what might be ahead, and of course talk a little bit about these Red Wings who are right now red hot.
Yeah,
pretty good. Later on this afternoon, Seth Payne from our Odyssey Sports sister station, Sports Radio 610 in Houston, Payne and Pendergrass show. He's going to be stopping by here at 4:25.
If you're not familiar with Seth's story, Victor High School, Hall of Fame, goes to Cornell, plays football, gets selected in the draft by Jacksonville, and he has a successful NFL career, better part of a decade. And he ends up in Houston at the end of his career, so he played for the Jaguars and the Texans, still has family in our area, and we touch base with them every once in a while, and hey, they have digs.
Yeah.
It's kind of they're an interesting team. So who better than to get the Western New York native to get his perspective on this? And I'm sure he gets asked a lot about, what Diggs leaving Buffalo means to the Buffalo Bills, but how much of a threat are the Houston Texans? We'll talk to Seth Payne, Rochester native, coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
You can join us anytime this afternoon. Our phone lines are open. 585-866-4FAN is our number, 866-4326. And I have a feeling if you listen to the Sports Bar regularly, you already know what we're going to talk about today. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, and it plays directly into our hand here. We've got a U.S. Open champion, and we've got a bit of a meltdown on the U.S. Open from he who shall not be named.
It's I don't watch the TV show Survivor anymore. Quite frankly, I'm surprised it's still on. There's still an audience, and I'm not putting anybody down that watches it, but from what I remember, the opening seasons of it, Danger, the beauty of that show was you'd have these little alliances, and all of a sudden everything would flip, and your opinions would flip, and everything would flip, and I didn't see that coming. And the analogy I'm drawing here is I never thought on a Sunday, Father's Day, U.S. Open, would be pulling for a live golfer over the guy who married the Rochester girl. Danger, what world am I living in? But that is true. I was pulling for DeChambeau to win yesterday.
I think everybody was.
No. My family, people that aren't close to it, still that aren't dialed in, still look at Rory and still, oh, yeah, he must have some problems. So, no, I think our listeners and everything, but in my party, it was like, wait a second here. What, you don't understand this guy.
Yeah, I just think with regards to Rory, because last week we were getting the questions, are you ready to reclaim him as our own? And if he's going to not divorce Erica, no, I don't know that I am. And you can say that everything that was accused or all of the rumors and innuendo that was out there, none of that was proven to be true. That's fine, but the stories didn't materialize out of thin air. I mean, there's something going on. It's not like every golfer on the tour has these rumors of infidelity circling around them. It was Rory. Rory had these rumors circling around him.
Look, he's doing a Mother's Day interview, and he doesn't
mention his wife.
Doesn't mention the mother of his daughter.
Right. So, and Rory, up until this point, yeah, we've loved Rory. And when Rory was in Rochester last year for the PGA Championship, he had the biggest gallery, and everybody was pulling for him, and he's one of us, and we love this guy. And he always says the right thing about the PGA Tour versus the Live Tour. And then all of a sudden you hear some of these stories, and you kind of see things that your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. It's like, maybe he is a fraud. Maybe he's just a giant fraud. Maybe everything that he's saying isn't real. He's just not genuine or truthful. Meanwhile, DeChambeau, a guy that you would usually just roll your eyes at, right? Like, oh, here he comes. Bryson DeChambeau. Mm-hmm. Is there a more golf name than Bryson DeChambeau or a more golf persona than Bryson DeChambeau? Good-looking, well-put-together guy that's going to go out on the golf course, just crush some golf balls, and built like a linebacker. And now this guy is loving up the gallery, signing autographs, talking to kids, talking to people. He's got a bit of a personality that's, dare I say, likable.
Well, let's stop right there. because everything you're saying is true. We can, the Rory stuff. Okay, that's interesting. But DeChambeau flipping his image like this, and if you're the public investment fund, okay, the Saudis, aka, you have the money to go out and hire the best PR people. This is a clinic danger because when Liv came on the scene, all right, we don't really like the backstory, but why did they hire Greg Norman, who's antagonizing everybody and putting people down and belittling people? It's kind of flipped in the other direction, like you mentioned, and I think it's an example of, barring murdering something or somebody, you can rehabilitate pretty much anybody's image.
Yeah.
Ray Lewis was in an orange jumpsuit doing a perp walk accused of double murder. Okay, and we look at Ray Lewis completely differently. Why? Because when he came out of that experience, he was humble. He was a man of faith. He balled out. Wow, I like this guy. Bryson DeChambeau, like, when did this all kind of change? We kind of got in tune with this a few weeks ago when you see him chasing down the guy who took the ball from the kid, and you see him there bringing the trophy yesterday, and everybody's. So somebody, I think. So that's my opinion. That actually the public investment fund actually realized, hey, we got a little bit of an image problem. Let's kind of coach these guys up here a little bit.
And speaking of the PIF, the conversation we had with Brian Koziel last week, that's one of the things I took away from that conversation is that we should hear something, according to Koziel, this week.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, about where we're at with that merger between Liv and the PGA Tour. And I think it is of note that DeChambeau now becomes the second Liv golfer to win a major behind Brooks last year here in Rochester at the PGA Championship. And it's not a surprise because DeChambeau has been playing unbelievably every time we've seen him. And we haven't seen him on the Liv Tour, but at the majors, he's been great. He's been playing really, really good golf. So for him to be in contention, for him to have that lead on Saturday, and then for him to end up winning it all, and to do it in a way with grace to earn it. Like he didn't, It wasn't easy. And then afterwards to express the humility that you want out of a champion. This is, to me, is a lot more exciting. This kind of golf is a lot more exciting than just Scotty Scheffler showing up and winning it, And
that's what you want. I mean, that's the one thing we didn't get at the PGA Championship when it was here last year. A Sunday where you have two well-known names jockeying back and forth. And Rory's on 15. Now, you could say Rory lost it. I certainly would agree that, and DeChambeau didn't win it. Did you watch 18? DeChambeau gets himself into trouble. And like, how is he going to make this shot? He's got a root in front of him. I think he purposely put that into the sand. And then he gets himself out of the sand, and you realize as soon as he makes that shot, the save there, he's going to win the thing. But I think when you are under pressure, that shows a lot about your character. And grace and humility are two things that right now maybe Rory needs to work on just a little bit, because for him to storm out of there, just get into his car, and you could say, I don't care if he talks to reporters or not. No, this is the gentleman's sport. This is golf.
That's a bitch move, to put it bluntly. I just think that's such a come on, you've done this long enough now. What? Okay, you're going to storm out, you're going to pout, you're going to avoid everything and crawl into a hole. Get out of here. It's just another reason for me not to like this guy, or for me to at least believe that what we thought about this guy all along, maybe he's just a fraud. Maybe he's just two-faced. He's outward facing one way and then a completely different person when the cameras are off or when he doesn't have the attention on him. And in that regard, I feel sorry for Erica, except for the fact that he is the father of her child and they are going to stay together as of right now, which is probably very good for young Poppy and for their relationship. We hope they work it out. But yeah, it's kind of telling person's character. You're not able to close it out. You're still, that career-long Grand Slam has evaded you. You haven't won a major in 10 years, and you just don't want to talk about it. You're just going to skate. I don't like it.
No, this was one of the biggest choke jobs in a major ever. 28 inches, that was it. The putt on 18.
Yeah. And
it wasn't the only putt he missed like that.
Yeah. So a satisfying conclusion to the U.S. Open. I would say one that everybody will remember for a long time, based on how it went down to the wire there, how it came down to DeChambeau having to basically get himself out of trouble to get that win, and Rory, with the opportunity to close it out, just wasn't able to do it.
Another thought there is Rory. What network was that on yesterday? Oh, it was on NBC.
Oh.
Yeah, if we're on a different network, does he stay around? I'm being a little cheeky, I understand, but
how dare you? How dare you?
Look, if you're going to get a friendly audience and a shoulder to cry on or whatever it was you needed.
Yeah, so you're saying because Amanda Balionis wasn't there to do the post game, why am I sticking around?
Well, or if you're, who knows what question's going to come your direction?
Right.
That's also part of it.
Right.
Like I'm not.
Right.
And then, like, if you get a question you don't like, you don't have to answer it, but you have to be out there.
He's on the world stage, man. I mean, if it's not asked of him now, it's going to be asked of him at some point. He can't duck it forever. He just didn't want to do it yesterday, and he ducked out like a little bitch. Come on, Rory. Come on. But I mean, seriously, you're right. People can rehabilitate their image, and I'm not saying I'm never going to be a fan of Rory, but these are the actions of somebody I don't want to be a fan of.
Well, okay, so whoever rehabilitated those on the Live Tour, okay, Roy, go hire that person, okay, because you have issues.
Yeah.
We're talking about the wrong stuff, and your golf game isn't kind of making us all forget. If you win, we forget things. We just kind of focus on that.
Tonight, we've got a chance for the Boston Celtics to close out the NBA Finals. It's Game 5 in Boston. I have thoughts on that that we'll share here later on.
Your
this
thought
afternoon.
should be this. Gene was right.
Nobody cares when you're right.
Friday, like, wait a second. Why are the Celtics only favored by 1.5 points? This is fishy. What is going on? This is why Celtic fans don't trust this team.
Right.
Like, if it's me or you, okay, hey, guys, you don't want to work Monday? Okay, no, you don't want to work Monday. Great. Go out and win the game.
So who do you think is in bigger trouble given the outcome of this weekend? The Panthers or the Celtics?
The Celtics.
Really?
If they lose, can you imagine a world? The Panthers could lose and they'll be okay. But I know it's never happened before. But the Celtics last year had a front row seat to this. You remember? Like, Miami was up 3-0 and Boston came back. And all of a sudden, wow, Miami's actually going to blow this. Tatum gets hurt in Game 4, or Game 7, I should say, and that was that. So, yeah, if Dallas somehow figures out a way tonight and goes back home.
Do you think Kyrie shows up tonight? I don't think Kyrie shows up tonight. I think you need Kyrie, and he just can't show up in Boston. I think they get it done tonight. I think it's over tonight, Gino. Are you gonna put your neck on the line and say
no? I'm not gonna. Like, you asked me the question, which one is more likely?
Yeah.
I don't see Florida as good as Florida is. Florida was one of those. Okay, it's not our night. Yeah, stretch. Let's go back.
Not your night.
8-1 was that in it?
Could you ask for worse playoff action, worse finals action than what you got out of those 2 Game 4s this weekend? I'm so disappointed. It ran me to drinking instead. Anyways, all right, we'll get to James Wood, Rochester Red Wing. He's going to join us for a couple few next. We'll talk about the Red Wings with the Nationals prospect who's here in Rochester. Big weekend for the Rochester Red Wings, of course, setting attendance records at Innovative Field. And don't forget, later this afternoon, Seth Payne from our Odyssey Sports sister station, Sports Radio 610 in Houston, will stop by the Sports Bar. You can join us anytime this afternoon at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger.
Buffalo Bills training camp schedule is out. Chris Brown today on One Bills Live with more.
Training camp wraps up August 8th.
Yeah, they only stay out there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and
they'll
be back here permanently before they even play their first preseason game, which is the 10th against Chicago.
First practice for the Bills at St. John Fisher University is July 24th. Rochester Red Wings 4-game winning streak. They're off tonight. They begin a series tomorrow night in Syracuse. Outfielder James Wood joins us next here in the Sports Bar. Tonight it's Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Boston with another chance to win the title, up 3-1 against Dallas. Stanley Cup Finals still going as well as Edmonton still alive, down 3-1. Game 5 in Florida tomorrow night. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
We welcome you back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us this afternoon and excited to welcome in outfielder for the Rochester Red Wings, James Wood, stopping by the Sports Bar. James, glad to have you with us. How you feeling and how close we get to see you on the field again, bud?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me. I'm feeling really good. I mean, it really won't be long, so I'm excited to get back out there. I mean, we've been playing really good, so just looking forward to getting back, joining the team.
Yeah, I mean, did anybody kneeling you a little bit, James? Like, hey, you know what? We won 4 games in a row here with the big crowds. I'm only kidding with you, of course. What did you think this past weekend with the crowds and taking down Scranton there 4 in a row?
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. I mean, the place was packed. I mean, Scranton's a really good team, so being able to take that series was big, definitely.
I want to learn a little bit about more about you, James, joining us here in the Sports Bar. We know that your background here, your old man played basketball, your Father's Day just yesterday, at the University of Richmond. Big basketball player in the school's Hall of Fame. So you've got athleticism in your DNA. What was that like for you growing up with a dad who was so good at basketball?
Yeah, no, I always hear the stories all the time, usually not from him, though, from a lot of friends, so... I mean, we were a big basketball family, so, I mean, I kind of grew up just around basketball, whether it was playing, watching, all that kind of stuff. So definitely played a big part of my life growing up.
Does anybody in Rochester point out, because Rochester is a unique town, James, meaning we don't have a major league team. We don't even have our own Division I basketball team, so we kind of gravitate over to Syracuse, and when I read that, I'm like, oh, my gosh, your dad was on that Richmond team that beat Syracuse? That's how old I am, James. I mean, has anybody else pointed that out to you?
Yeah, no, I hear it all the time, especially when I went back over there for the first time. So, I mean, I hear about that all the time. You know, like, I mean, obviously, at the time, it was probably the biggest upset in college basketball, but yeah, no, definitely going back to Syracuse. I hear it every once in a while.
So, James, you had this background with your old man playing basketball. It was such a big part of your youth and growing up. When did you decide that baseball was going to be your best path and not basketball?
I don't know. I feel like I always enjoyed playing basketball when I was younger, but I think my family, they would probably attest to this too. I think they always knew that baseball that's where my passion was. So I never really felt like it was a hard decision taking baseball over basketball.
Outfielder James Wood, our guest here in the Sports Bar. I'm told you're a big LeBron James fan. He's not in the finals, of course, but I'm already skipping ahead here to the draft next week. Where do you think LeBron and Bronny end up?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I mean, I think he might end up going to the Lakers. I mean, I know at first people were saying that like he might not get drafted at all, but I don't know. I think with all the stuff that comes along with, especially if you pair LeBron up with his son, and obviously they got a new coach coming in, so I don't know. I think it would be pretty cool to see him go to the Lakers too and join them. But I've seen some stuff that some teams might jump him and all that, but I don't know.
Were you disappointed when Hurley turned down the offer there to be the coach of the Lakers? Were you paying attention to that, following closely?
Yeah, no, I was kind of a little bit shocked. I mean, they gave him a good amount of money, but I mean, it's tough to walk away after winning back-to-back championships in the NCAA. I mean, I don't even know if that's been done before. When the last time that has been done. So.
James Wood, Rochester Red Wings outfielder. Hope to get him back here soon on his way back. Having a tremendous season here. James, what is it like when somebody sits you down and says, you've been traded? How did that kind of news break to you? And for folks who don't know, James Wood was part of the trade that sent Juan Soto out to San Diego, and you're going back in return. So part one, hey, you're being traded, but I would have to think you were excited knowing that, having grown up in Maryland, coming back to the area that you know very well here. What were your thoughts, and how did that all go down?
Yeah, no, I mean, at the time it was kind of a lot to process. Coming back home, I was kind of leaving all the teammates and coaches I got to know over the past year or so, and also on top of finding out, like, on a bus ride going to a road trip, it was a pretty hectic couple of days. So,
growing up in Maryland, were you an O's fan, a Nats fan? Did you have another team that you were a fan of growing up?
I definitely followed the Nationals a good amount, but I mean, I grew up watching more of the Yankees than anything else. I mean, my dad and his whole side of the family is from New York, so.
With that, I'm told you're a Giants fan in football. Is that true? You're a fan of the New York Giants?
Yeah.
And I mean, is there any way we can get you to convert the Josh Allen's team here, James?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely like the Bills. I mean, I got no bad blood against them. I mean, I don't mind staying in New York. It's not like it's a NFC type of thing. Y'all are over in the AFC, so I feel like we can make that work.
Learning more about James Wood, Rochester Red Wings outfielder, joining us here in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. And what we're learning about you is kind of what people have been saying about you, James, that you're very even-keeled. You don't get too high. You don't get too low. I can hear it in your voice. I assume that's your personality. How important is that when you're playing a sport like baseball to kind of remain level?
Yeah, no, I think it's very important. I mean, baseball more than most any other sports is random, and it's a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of different things can happen game by game. So I think that's the sort of the battle that we all kind of go through with the sport. I think just trying to stay even throughout all of it. So I just think that sort of helps you keep a level head throughout the season.
James Wood, who, James, you're not going to be here in Rochester much longer if you keep this up. Your stats, 355 batting average, 9 home runs, 31 RBI, 10 stolen bases, an OPS of 1061. What do the coaches have you working on? What do you think you need to do, James, in order to take that next step?
I'll say a little bit of sort of what we were talking about earlier, just kind of trying to stay consistent and just sort of fight the battle throughout the season and pick up a few things here and there. I've been working a lot on defense, kind of getting comfortable in different outfield positions and just kind of refining up the little things, seeing different ways I could help the team win, whether that's hitting, defense, or base running, or whatever it may be.
Have you painted a picture in your mind of what that moment will be like when you get that call and you're playing in the bigs?
That's a tough one to do. I mean, I really have no idea how it's going to go down. So, I mean, but it's definitely, it would be super cool just to experience all that.
Well, tell us about the Wings here, because this doesn't concern you, but it was a few rough years, and it's exciting to see the team kind of win some games, and the way you won Friday night against Garrett Cole. I mean, 2-1, a sac fly. Tell us about the guys on this team and how much you guys are having fun here winning.
Yeah, no, it's a really fun clubhouse to be in. I think that definitely kind of goes back and forth with each other. I think just winning, it makes a lot of things better, and when you got a good group of guys, it makes it a lot more fun. I mean, we've been down big some games, and we've really tried to climb back and make it a fight. And I think there's some tough games that we really battled through and try and pulled out with the win. So I just think when you got a good group of guys who really likes to be around each other, I think that really makes everybody a little bit better.
Well, James, we certainly appreciate everything you're doing with the team this year. You're having yourself an amazing season. Hope you get back on the field. We'll look forward to seeing you on the field soon. Stay healthy, and we really appreciate you making some time for us here in the Sports Bar this afternoon, bud. Be well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You
All
got
right.
it.
Thanks, James.
Here's James Wood, Rochester Red Wings outfielder, stopping by the Sports Bar for a couple few. Interesting cat.
Yeah, sports background, and with his dad playing basketball, and I love the fact that he chose baseball in this path. And when we look ahead here, I mean, it's not a stretch to think that this guy is going to be an all-star. He's going to be one of these building blocks for the Nationals in terms of how you get things going. And I think what's kind of held the Nationals organization up has been the sale of the team, actually, and the cable network and just kind of the money coming through here. But if you can sort of build with, and Wood is a heck of a prospect, and I'm sure that, what was it? How many, a little over a year that San Diego got to experience Juan Soto and didn't really pay off for them. That one's got to hurt if you're a Padre fan watching that guy kind of come over here, and now he's going to be playing in the majors pretty soon.
Interesting to me that James Wood, East Coast guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He speaks Midwestern pretty good.
There's
a little bit's rubbed off on him. I don't know if it's from just being around other guys that might be from the Midwest, or if his travels have taken him there. But a lot of no yas and yeah nos from our buddy James Wood. And if you're new to the show and you don't understand, a no yeah is a yes if you're talking to a Midwesterner. Yeah no is a no. And we got a lot of yeah nos, which we're asking a question, and it's a humble way of saying no. This is how it is. It's not a slight. A yeah, no for sure is a definitely, right? You have to know your Midwestern.
Yeah.
You whip out your East Coast to Midwestern dictionary, and you have an idea of how this all works. Yeah, no, yeah. You get a couple of those every now and then.
It is a sport too. Like if you had to say which sport, whether the managers, the coaches, that'll talk, I think baseball. I think because baseball maybe is every day. You're in the clubhouse every day. You don't get too down after a loss. Football, when you're talking to players in season, yeah, they're really kind of locked in on it. Baseball players, managers, we've had many different Wings managers on our show over the years, and they're very, very talkative. So appreciate James coming on today talking a little bit about this.
We'll add James to the list that includes Mike Leone of the Yeah No Yeah Club. Yeah, no.
You realize
yeah.
Father's Day. I'm getting needled on Father's Day because they've got the yacht rock mix going.
Don't worry, Gino. Were your ears burning at all this weekend?
No.
Because while I was floating in a pool, your favorite song came on. And I had to tell my brother-in-law, I'm like, do you know what my co-host said? Do you have any idea what he thinks the name of this song is? He thinks it's called Leo Shuffle, not Lido Shuffle. Blah! Uproarious laughter. Sorry,
Great.
Gene.
Great. Happy to be,
Gotta bring it up. All facts, all true. When talking about it with Mike Leone and hearing.
This is like the day before, and I made the mistake of bringing this up on the air.
No, that was a mistake. Not a mistake.
That was my mistake because I'm like, we should play the yacht rock song when we're bringing on Mike Leone because that's his nickname, Leo. And you're looking at me like, what are you talking about?
I'm like, I don't feel like playing. What do you mean, Benny Mardones into the night? What are we saying? I don't understand. What my favorite yacht rock song or? Oh, you think it's called Leo Shuffle, not Lido Shuffle. Oh, Gene. Oh, my. Everything that you know in your life is a lie. We got more to get to from this weekend, the weekend that was, including, I got to talk a little bit about the Game 4s from this weekend, whether you're talking NBA Finals or Stanley Cup Final, a couple of flops for Game 4, and also T. Higgins. Got a deal, a deal done, but signed his franchise tag.
Yeah, and where is that going? Does that necessarily mean he's going to be a Bengal this year? does open up a possibility here for the Bengals, albeit not a big window, but they have a window to get something done if they want.
I have some thoughts on that we'll get to here next. Don't forget, Seth Payne of Sports Radio 610 in Houston is going to stop by the Sports Bar at 425 as well. Your calls are welcome at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I mean, let's just call it what it is. When the fans are chanting Kyrie sucks or anything, they feel like they have a psychological edge, and that's, fair. And of course, if I'm not making shots or turning the ball over, that makes it even more of a pressing issue, right, that they can stay on me.
And Kyrie's going to hear it tonight with everything on the line, Game 5 in Boston. I was trying to think, Gino, of a worse championship of a finals game of what we watched on Friday night in Dallas. The Celtics just laying down, Dallas taking advantage, both teams emptying their bench late in the third and the entirety of the fourth. Can anyone come up with a less entertaining game? I mean, unless you're interested in the pro career of O'Shea Brissett and the record he set for former Syracuse Orange points scored in the final. It was a waste of time. It has to be. I mean, I'm hesitant to even tune in for Game 5 tonight.
Well,
I'm kidding, by the way. I'm in.
No, of course, yeah. You're watching, and that line was fishy from the beginning there. And this is, I guess, what the Celtics do. John writing into us on X, you can write to us, our handle, The Fan Rochester. Ask, I didn't hear Tasker mention this, but Tasker had the take that Boston did that so they could win the championship at home, which may be like 10 minutes, and you're like, screw it. We're not going to kind of put any effort into this.
I mean, I know that the gentleman's sweep is a thing that we say.
Yeah.
But you have to have some cojones as a team to be able to say, no, we dominate them, and we know that if we can dominate them one more time at home, this is ours. We don't need to play. I mean, to lay down, that was a tough watch.
It was disappointing for the 13,000 plus who went to the Wings game. I'm thinking, this is going to be perfect. I'll watch the Wings because they started early Friday, 6:45. I'll get home around 10, watch no, I'm not even turning this on. And the storyline, I think, is going to be, when this is all done, look at these terrible ratings for the NBA. The NBA is down. Well, give us a good final. Give us something we can kind of get into. Give us two rivals, and this is...
See the gap closing between the NBA and the NHL? Or at least you'll hear ratings for the NBA down, while NHL Stanley Cup final ratings year to year will appear to be up, I imagine.
Maybe, because Edmonton, it's a Canadian market. It's not going to count, so you're not going to get that bounce if you were in Chicago, let's say, or somewhere.
Right. Well, we did have today, you mentioned Tasker. He and Brownie spent plenty of time, and we'll dive into this a little bit more throughout the course of the afternoon as well. The Bills released their training camp schedule, Gino.
Yeah, and there is something rare that's going to be at this Bills camp. It has nothing to do with the schedule. The two-sport athlete. Now, Gable Steveson is going to try to pull off something that you don't really see anymore. And the odds are against him for sure. There's no way I think he makes the 53. And can I be honest? I had never heard of Steveson before he signed with Buffalo. Okay, there, I said it. Okay, accomplished two-sport athletes, they were so much fun. And this is what we look. I don't want the old man music, but I was lucky to see Bo Jackson. The physicality he brought to the NFL. Of course, he was a great center fielder in Kansas City. Bo Jackson can't be topped. Back then, you had Deion Sanders, a guy named Brian Jordan. If you remember him, he played for the Falcons and the baseball Cardinals. What do you get today? You had, I guess, Tim Tebow. He went to baseball, never made it to the majors, and he only went to the baseball because he washed out of football. He wasn't particularly good at either. We forget that Kyler Murray actually was a top 10 pick in baseball, selected number 9 overall by the Oakland A's in 2018. Look, Murray could have done it, but he's not. My point is this. The money for a second contract in any sport, particularly the NFL, it's just too great to pass up. You can't focus on, finger quote, the hobby here. To earn that second contract, you can't dabble in another sport. I think that's kind of a bummer.
I wonder, with Murray specifically, it felt like there was an unnecessary sense of urgency for him to get that second contract done. And they almost forced the car. He always had the threat of, I can just go play baseball, but it never really came to that. Do you think they want to get that contract done just to kind of put a closure on the baseball side of things, just to make it so that it's not even a possibility anymore? No, you're a football player. Here's the second deal. Shut up and let's start winning some football games.
I think part of it too was the team that drafted him and the commissioner. We could look at what the Oakland A's are now, a mess in terms of the relocation, but they had an asset in Kyler Murray. And I remember saying this at the time. He's not signing with you. Trade his rights to the Yankees. Trade him to somebody else. Like, at least give the appearance. And if I was Murray's representatives, I would have been like, ugh. And the Oakland A's had nothing. So think about that. Oakland, a number 9 overall pick, wasted. That tells you everything you kind of need to know about that organization. You would think that you would have made that selection and you would have had some intel that he actually would have come and played for you. And if he didn't, then you're cutting your losses. But they never did cut their loss.
Yeah. Speaking of organizations that appear to be dysfunctional, how do you think the T. Higgins saga ends here in Cincinnati? Because he signed his franchise tag with the Bengals over the weekend. And I think a lot of people are wondering why. Why would he do that? And the only things that make sense to me here are that Cincinnati has no issue holding Higgins for this season unless a team wants to trade for his services. Now, at this stage of the offseason, a lot of rosters are already set, and I hear you on that, but at this position, there are still options. I mean, think about teams like the Patriots, the aforementioned Cardinals, the Chargers, the Commanders. They all have cap space. They all come to mind as teams where Higgins would go in and immediately be a threat, could potentially dominate at that position for those teams. So Higgins not signing his tag would eliminate, however unlikely, that option. So another worst-case scenario for Higgins is the inability to get a long-term deal done, which I think is likely by July 15th, and then he plays for the Bengals for one more season before he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Next season, he'll get paid if he stays healthy. He'll get paid if he produces like we've seen. I've been critical of the Bengals, Gino, and I just called them dysfunctional a few minutes ago. But in this instance, assuming that they don't trade Higgins, they've actually been transparent as an organization. You've heard the coaches say, we want him here. He's a part of our plan. They know that this is their last chance with Burrow, Higgins, and Chase. And as much as the player may not like it, it's what's best for the team and for Higgins' future simultaneously for him to sign that franchise tag.
He'll sign the tag. They have up until July 15th. You can rip that up and, hey, here's your long-term contract. But I don't see that with the Bengals, and that's also your deadline if you want to do basically it's a tag and trade. We did the tag part. All those teams, where would you like to see him? It would make a lot of sense in Washington. You drafted the quarterback. Maybe the timeline of this, like if you're going by the Josh Allen mode, like next year, you bought, for that matter, the Patriots too, but I don't see the Patriots.
You go to the Patriots or the Chargers, and you're immediately the one. If you're T. Higgins, you go to Washington, you've got some people there. You've got Dotson, you've got McLaurin. Boy, if it was Arizona, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. and T. Higgins.
Oh my gosh.
With Kyler Murray throwing you the ball. Okay. Yeah, I think you would sign up for that if you're Arizona. So it's not like I just don't know that teams are going to pony up what Cincinnati would want for T. Higgins. What could you get for T. Higgins? Let's face it, like the Bills gave up a first-round pick back in the day for Steph Diggs. You could probably ask for a first-round pick.
You are asking for a first-round pick. Amari Cooper got a first-round pick way back when Dallas was. But is there a team that really is under the gun in that regard to make this move right now? And I don't see that. We can look. I know what's some of you are crossing your mind. Well, what about the Bills? All right. Well, a couple things. One, the salary cap is real. Two, Cincinnati is fashioning themselves as they should as an AFC contender, not an AFC North contender. So far fetched for me. Even Brandon Bean picked up the phone and was like, "Listen, we're gonna."
You had to do a listen.
Yeah, listen.
We're
going to give you next year's number one, and we are going to give him a new contract that would fit under the cap. Theoretically, that's possible, right? I don't think that makes much sense.
Yeah, I think what happens is he stays in Cincinnati for one more year, and this is it. This is their ride or die year with the three of them together, with Chase, Higgins, and Burrow. And if it doesn't work out, then yeah, the Higgins Higgins. The only thing that will prevent Higgins from getting paid is an injury, something this year. I mean, he's betting on himself. You essentially bet on yourself at this point.
Or, gosh, and this is like fun, but as we mentioned last week, going over that huge list of injury, Joe Burrow, and to hear Joe Burrow himself mention the words football mortality.
Yeah.
I mean, if this goes bad again, where you say that, like, hey, you're all in here, but what if it goes bad and Burrow ends up hurt again? Like, we could be closer to the end there than you realize.
For sure. Good Father's Day weekend. Hope you enjoyed your Father's Day weekend. Gino, I know you were out. You were active.
We were all active, buddy. How about you? You're in the pool, everything else?
Pool yesterday. Saturday. Oh, I got to tell you about a new discovery. I will be the first to admit I'm like a novice bourbon drinker. Like I like certain bourbons, but I've never done like the bourbon trail. I know Phil, one of our regulars, is like a big bourbon guy. He's done the bourbon trail. I learned something new about bourbon and bourbon drinkers this weekend that I'd never heard of before. And things that will change your life. People are like, oh my God, change life. Like it blew my mind. When I heard them, like, why didn't I think of that? And I shared it with a couple other people like, yeah, why didn't we think of that? What's up? Well, I'll explain what that is. But tell me a little bit about.
So like this happened the other night. I can't be the only one who does this, right? Because it's summertime. You got to get in shape here. It's time. I'm overdue, right? So I'm passing out. Look at my watch. 9,900 steps.
All right, so you had a goal.
Yeah, 10,000. That's the default setting on your watch, right? Do you keep track of your steps or no?
I do. I don't have I have my Apple Watch will tell me how many calories. So like, you need to burn 780 calories or whatever. And so it factors that in throughout the course of the day. If you exercise, obviously it burns through more. And yeah, I've been guilty of trying to close my rings by doing jumping jacks before bed, doing push-ups before bed, just doing something athletic before bed.
All right, this is like a take along those lines. So I see the 9,900 steps. Oh, come on. So I pop up. Let's finish this out. That's when the executive producer chimes in. The hell are you doing? Why are you pacing here? Hon, I got to get to 10,000. Stop. Those are fake steps.
Oh.
You failed at your goal. Oh. Now get back to bed.
Oh. Ooh.
So that was that was across the chops. It was a punch across the chops because it irritated me. It pissed me off. I didn't see that coming. And
the executive producer is just a dream crusher. She should get together with Sandy. The two of them will hit it off like just crushing your dreams, Gino.
So,
you have a goal, and I'm gonna crap all over your goal. What do you think of that?
She's right. Those are fake steps.
Not right.
The 100. It's summer. There's no excuse not to get the real steps in.
All right, fine. I'll hear that last part, but your effort should be noted. Your effort should be you should be awarded for that effort. You should be, yes, you didn't get your goal. Come back to bed. It's time for special treatment. That you should have gotten an award for your effort, not a get back to bed, you failure. That's what she told you. Basically called you a failure.
On Father's Day weekend.
On Father's Day weekend. This is unacceptable. I want to have words with the executive producer on this. I applaud the effort, Gino.
Thank you.
I am guilty of doing the same damn thing. I won't pace, but I'll do jumping jacks. I'll do stairs. I'll do push-ups. Like at the end of the day, just like you're cramming for a test. I'm like, how did and you don't realize, like, how did I come up short? I did exercise, or I did go for a walk, or I mowed the lawn, or I did whatever I did, and then you're so close. You're like, well, I gotta nail this. I gotta knock it down. It's a goal. That's what it's there
a goal.
for.
It's like So I spent 1 minute walking back and forth in the room.
That's not a failure. That should be applauded.
It is not a failure.
It is not a failure.
It is not a failure.
No.
His steps.
You got Giannis telling you to get back to bed over there. No, executive producer. I'm telling you, no. That's great effort by Gene. Amazing effort. I got to tell you, we'll look at this Bills training camp schedule next. I got to tell you about my bourbon revelation. And Seth Payne of Sports Radio 610 in Houston, our Odyssey Sports sister station, he's going to stop by the sports bar here in about 25, 30 minutes or so as well. We'll find out how Diggs is doing down there at his new team with the Houston Texans. Seth Payne joins us at 425. You're in the sports bar at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and WBEE HD2 and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Buffalo Bills training camp schedule is out. The first practice will be on Wednesday, July 24th. Camp will break at St. John Fisher University on August the 8th. Tonight's Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Another chance for Boston to wrap this up. Jason Tatum is ready.
But Game 5 is the biggest game of the season because it's the next game on the schedule. So going with that mindset and just have fun. And that's really what we talked about today, to get back to having fun and being the team and how special we are in the team that got us here.
Boston up 3-1 against Dallas. The Rochester Red Wings are off tonight. They've got a 4-game winning streak. They begin a series tomorrow in Syracuse. The Edmonton Oilers are still alive. Stanley Cup final now heads to Florida. Panthers are up 3-1. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We do have Bills news, though. They released the training camp schedule for St. John Fisher next month.
Mike Danger.
Training camp. You gonna go? Can't wait.
Let's go! Gene Battaglia.
Could you ask for anything more out of this camp? I mean, yeah, it seems like we are living in the golden age of Buffalo Bills football right now.
72-year-old Bill Belichick is dating a 24-year-old former cheerleader. What drama at the U.S. Open. DeChambeau rallied while McIlroy withered. He who shall not be named.
Meantime, Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight as the Celtics go for the closeout of the Mavericks yet again, this one in Boston. Tip-off shortly after 8:30 Eastern.
Kyrie sucks.
I have made the decision myself. No matter what happens, next year is going to be my last year on television.
Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's rivalry.
The Stanley Cup final.
A 1-2 pitch to Mookie Betts. And he is hit by the pitch. He goes down.
Mets win their 5th in a row, beat the Padres 11-6.
Grimace.
That's what's in.
Garrett Cole and the Rochester Red Wings.
The Cheetah!
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Have you ever heard of an infinity bottle?
Well, I can guess what it is, but if I heard of it, the answer is no.
All right, so what would your guess be? Because I was asked the same question this weekend.
It sounds like some sort of special that your favorite liquor warehouse would put on special, and like, hey, you know what? Like almost like the all-you-can-eat buffet, like the infinity bottle.
So I'll be the first to admit I'm still a little bit of a bourbon noob. I like my bourbon. I've got a few bottles. I've got a couple of really good bottles. I've had some really good bottles, but I've never done like the bourbon trail. I don't have like. I can't like tell you like, oh, I get flavors of cinnamon and caramel and this tastes like peach cobbler. I don't have that. I do know what I like. Like there are bourbons that I've tried that I really like. There are others that I've tried that I'm like, okay, that's good. That's okay. We're both wrong. The infinity bottle, I was told this weekend. I learned this weekend. This wasn't the highlight of my Father's Day weekend, but in the spirit of growing and learning and absorbing new information, this was pretty cool. I was at a friend's house and he brought out the infinity bottle. And what the infinity bottle is when you're down to like the final pour, like you have like a little bit left in the bottle of a bottle that you like, you pour it into another vessel. You pour it into a bottle that you like, maybe you saved it or there's some significance to the bottle. Like I've got a bottle that a friend sent me when the Cubs won the World Series that has on the side etched on it, "Go Cubs." I have another bottle that a friend sent me that's empty of Belfour that is signed by Eddie Belfour, the former goalie for the Chicago Blackhawks and the University of North Dakota. Like these are empty bottles that I've just saved. So you take the final pour of a bottle that you like, you throw it into your infinity bottle, and you keep accumulating over the course of time your favorite bourbons or scotches or whiskeys, and you just keep going and going and going, and now you've got this blend of all of your favorite whiskeys. And I'm like, my mind was blown. I'm like, and then I tried some of my friends' infinity bottle. I'm like, damn, this is really good. This is like, I didn't know what it would. I'm like, this is really, really
so
good.
you couldn't do this like, we'll say, red wine or box wine or anything like that.
I don't think so.
I won't think so. I
don't think so. At least I've never heard of it before. But then I start to like read up on it. I'm like, oh man, this is like fairly common practice. Like a lot of whiskey drinkers will do this because it becomes a special occasion thing. Like you bring out the infinity bottle for special occasions or for somebody that you know will appreciate all of these great whiskeys all combined in this special blend that you have in a vessel that is very special to you or important to you or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, I was kind of upset that I didn't come up with that idea or I didn't hear of that idea until just recently. Now it's consuming my thoughts, Gino. Now I'm like, I gotta build up my collection. I gotta build up my infinity bottle.
Come on, like you're down to your last drop. Like, okay, you know what? Bloom. You're not. It takes some discipline in order to keep a little to the side.
I'm going to do it, though.
You have to.
I'm going to do it now. This is too important. This is too much. And then when we have special occasions, we bring out the infinity bottle. We don't have to crack the very like I've got a couple of bottles that I know they have some value to them, and I'm almost afraid to open them. But now it's like, screw it. I can open them whenever I want, enjoy them whenever I want, and know that I'll take a little taste when the bottle is almost empty, throw it right into the infinity bottle, and it lives forever. It lives infinity. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I would imagine, though, there are probably some instances where this tastes like the spittoon there at a winery.
I have to imagine that if you blended in, if you threw in like something like a scotch that was very peaty or had a very smoky flavor, that would probably overwhelm whatever you had in your infinity bottle. So I don't think you can just, it's not like wine where you say you can put all that wine together. It probably wouldn't work. But I think it also wouldn't work if you did put in something that's a little too peaty or a little too smoky.
Now, let me put up my hand for everybody else in the room. I don't like whiskey or bourbon. I know. Yes.
No, it's fine.
Well, when Seth Appert comes in and he's bringing in it, I'm not saying no.
Right.
I'm not going to be no, but I'm like,
You're dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't been taught how to enjoy a glass of bourbon. That's all.
When it's not burning my throat?
No, it's not. Look, if you drink it the right way and you learn, you can learn how to drink bourbon or scotch or any of that stuff where it doesn't burn or you actually can taste the differences. Like I said, I can't tell you that one thing has a note of butterscotch versus a note of I can tell you when something tastes like a campfire. I kind of dig the ones that taste really smoky. The scotch that is really peaty, I dig. It's not for everybody, though. I will be the first one to say that. I remember one time going over to a friend's house, my wife's friend's house, and I brought them a bottle of bourbon. And they're like, really? I'm like, well, yeah. They're like, are we going to drink that? I'm like, if you want, we don't have to. And they like you, Jim, like, not really a bourbon drinker. And I tried to explain, and like they did it, and like, I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. It's not for everybody. Yeah. It's not for everybody. But if it is for you, and you know what I'm talking about, if you know, you know. And I'm disappointed that I just found out about this now. Like, I wish I knew about it sooner because I've had so many great bottles that I could have poured into the infinity bottle and enjoyed for years and years and years to come. We welcome you into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're tuned in at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. And speaking of Odyssey, Seth Payne from our Odyssey Sports sister station, Sports Radio 610 in Houston, will be stopping by the sports bar here in about 10-15 minutes. You're welcome to join us at 866-4326, 585-8664-FAN. Don't forget our video stream is up and rolling for you as well. You can watch the sports bar on YouTube, on our channel, The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. We have a training camp scheduled, Gino.
We do, and it's no different than any other year other than the fact that it starts a little earlier and it ends a little earlier. Like, you're going on July 24th, which is a Wednesday. Camp will break after the practice on Thursday, August 8th. So there's one in here that's actually closed to the public, and they always kind of do that. Maybe some VIPs will be let in, and that Friday, the 2nd, it's when they're going to go back and have their scrimmage. So everything is in the morning at 9:45 in the morning, with the exception of one Sunday practice on August 4th, which is going to be 11:45. So really nothing out of the ordinary here, Danger. I still anticipate tickets to be very much in demand because people are loving their Buffalo Bills football.
Yeah. Chance to see Josh Allen, a chance to see Keon Coleman, the new players, new names. Should be a fun training camp.
Here's my question, because usually we've been the beneficiary of, hey, this is a Super Bowl contender. This is a real contender. You've had, and Peter King being a bad example because he's retired now, but you've had all the A-list media coming through. Do we see the Bills still being this destination in terms of...
Yeah, I think with Josh Allen, you have to. Yeah, I think with one of the best quarterbacks in the league, A-list, I don't know. I mean, I would say NFL Network will make their daily trip like they do every year. I feel like we always see NFL Network for a day. And I think all of these outfits try to make the rounds and visit every training camp, even the teams that are less relevant. So I would expect that, we would see... So, I mean, who have we talked to? We've talked to Evan Washburn, right? He came in for CBS. Yeah. That was great. And a lot of these guys, when they get their assignments, they'll go where they are familiar. Like, he's been here. He knows the guys. He knows his way around. Peter King loved coming here because he can go to Pittsford Dairy and get himself a milkshake.
He may just be coming back for that and that alone,
right,
on a vacation.
So. Right. So, yeah, I think you will still see some of the NFL's A-list reporters and networks stopping by to cover the Buffalo Bills during training camp. And, you get the training camp schedule, and you're right, Gene. It's almost anticlimactic. There isn't anything here that's shocking or jumps off the page. It's pretty much the way McDermott has done it every year. These morning practices are built into their routine. It's their formula, their method.
Yeah, and there's a few reasons they do it. One, up and at 'em. Like, sets the tone. And it's not 9:45. They are up there. They're getting their work in prior. So get the work in. You're off the field when it's warmer out. And also in the afternoons, what do we have a bigger chance of? I'm not a meteorologist, but chances are better for a thunderstorm in the afternoon than in the morning. So you get some less weather delays, although we've been out there in the pavilion some years when it's been nasty. So.
Did I count right? Did I count a total of 9 days where we'll be out there doing our show live?
Correct.
9 times.
They did that just for us here in the sports bar.
Yeah, they know. Brandon Bean listens to the sports bar. We know Sean McDermott listens to the sports bar, especially when we're at camp. He just listens off in the distance a little bit. He doesn't come right on set. He just listens off in the distance.
It was a little intimidating. Like, Coach Danger, he's over there. He's listening.
He's listening to what we're saying. He wants to know what we're talking about.
Is this the year you get pulled aside? Like, one of these years.
For what?
For the Denver game.
No.
15 seconds. No.
We're out of the blast zone, dude. We're fine. We're good. Hey, look, and by the way, if I did, or if you did, or if any of us did, talking to Ty Dunn last week was eye-opening. Like, they didn't have to reach out to Ty Dunn. Ty Dunn didn't have to reach out to them. He did a piece that a lot of people called it a character assassination of Sean McDermott. I didn't see it that way, but McDermott and Ty Dunn buried whatever hatchet there was to bury at the combine. And now you've got Ty Dunn speaking with Brandon Bean for his website, and Ty Dunn's going to be credentialed again, and we're going to see our buddy Ty Dunn. Like, I think these guys know, and it's one thing to be critical. It's another thing to be anti-factual. Like, you could be critical and factual. And I think if you're both, if you're critical and factual.
It stings, but
it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Right. Like, when a team loses the way they lost to that in Denver, against Denver that last year in prime time, like, if you're assessing blame, there's really only one person you blame for that loss, and it was the coach. It's Sean McDermott. He might not say it. He might not see it that way, but ultimately it's on you. Ultimately, too many men on the field is on you. It's on you. So I think there's a way to be critical and factual. And I think the only reason why they reached out to Ty Dunn is he was both. He sourced the hell out of that piece. And I know it's not what a lot of Bills fans wanted to hear about their team's head coach, but it wasn't wrong. And it's, McDermott, that's who he is. He's a big enough man to say, yeah, that's who I am. And I know who I am, and I know the way I coach, and I'm not going to change. It's fine. But I don't think we'll ever. If we do, so what?
Oh yeah, just bringing it up.
Yeah, I don't know that we will. I hope we get our usual cast of characters. I hope we get a day with Brandon Beane. That would be fun. Speaking of Ty Dunn, if he's there, I'd love to have Ty on with us in person.
We get a lot of guests during training camp. I mean, we've been kind of lucky over the years. We had Josh last year. So
we have Josh again this year. I'll be over the moon, and hopefully that happens. So we like being your training camp destination when the team is in town. We'll give you obviously daily updates. We'll talk to the players. We'll talk to the coaches. We'll talk to Brandon Beane, hopefully, and we'll share everything that's going on there at St. John Fisher University for a few weeks. The end of summer. It goes by quick, man.
It does.
And we'll be there for 9 different broadcasts. Training camp getting underway for the Buffalo Bills Wednesday, July 24th. They pull up stakes Thursday, August 8th, just in advance of their first preseason game, which is the 10th, at home against the Bears.
Yeah, very quiet time in the NFL right now.
Sure is. One thing that we haven't learned more about in terms of how things are going in Houston with Steph Diggs, Seth Payne, Victor Hall of Famer, Seth Payne, makes a living now at Sports Radio 610 in Houston, our Odyssey Sports sister station. Payne and Pendergrass. We'll talk to Seth next. Talk a little bit about those Houston Texans and Steph Diggs in his new digs. Seth Payne next on The Fan Rochester.
Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills training camp schedule is out. Chris Brown today on One Bills Live with more.
Training camp wraps up August 8th.
Yeah, they only stay out there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and
A little over 2 weeks.
they'll be back here permanently before they even play their first preseason game, which is the 10th against Chicago.
First practice for the Bills at St. John Fisher University, July 24th. It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight. Boston with another chance to win the title. Celtics up 3-1 against Dallas. Rochester Red Wings are off tonight. They won 4 in a row. They begin a series tomorrow night in Syracuse. Garrett Cole wasn't here in Rochester on Wednesday. He's going to make his season debut with the Yankees this coming Wednesday against Baltimore. NHL Stanley Cup Final coming up on Wednesday night. It's going to be Edmonton down in Florida. The Oilers trailing 3-1. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You know, if I'm not mistaken, the last time we spoke with the pride of Victor, Seth Payne from our Odyssey Sports sister station, Sports Radio 610 in Houston, I don't think the Houston Texans were the relevant team that they are going into this season. And now with Stephon Diggs, a name that we're obviously all familiar with, got to check in with Seth, got to check in with the Houston Texans here as we enter kind of the downtime in the NFL. Seth, thanks so much for making time for us this afternoon here in the Flower City. How has Steph Diggs been as a teammate up to this point with his new team there in Houston?
It's been exactly the same way it was in Buffalo. So, for the first part. That's what we're all banking on, is that, hey, the first 2 years are always a honeymoon period with Stephon Diggs. So, as you guys know, it's been negotiated down to just a 1-year deal for Stephon Diggs. So, he said all the right things. I think he was very magnanimous in his press conference when talking about Josh Allen, and very appreciative of Josh Allen. And, as you guys all know up there, sometimes things run their course, and it seems like that's the way it went with Buffalo. So, so far so good. I think the biggest question is just, all right, he's got potentially a much better breadth of wide receiving core with Nico Collins and Tank Dell when they're healthy. But how's that ball going to be divvied up amongst 3 really good wide receivers, and is that going to be an issue for Stephon Diggs at any point? Which, like I said, he said all the right things so far.
Yeah, I'm curious too, as to why they ripped up the contract and, hey, it's a 1-year deal, and that would be kind of a big gamble if you only got 1 year for a second-round pick. So, what was the reasoning behind that, Seth?
I think for Nick Caserio, the GM, I think it was almost just an acknowledgement of the way business is conducted in the NFL these days, which is, if you have a player who doesn't have any guaranteed money on his contract left and he's willing to be a gigantic pain in the butt about it, that guy is, for all intents and purposes, might as well be a free agent. So I think that was part of what went into it, that they traded for Stephon Diggs, figuring that they'd probably have to give him a new deal at the end of 1 year anyway. And they just went ahead and formalized it as a 1-year deal. So it's an aggressive move when you consider that it's a 1-year deal. I try to make peace with it by figuring, all right, if you did this at the trade deadline, people probably wouldn't bat an eyelash. Trade a second-round pick for a very good wide receiver, then that's standard operating procedure. They just they were a little bit aggressive in a few months early on that.
So, Seth, walk us through this transformation of the organization, because, like I said, I believe the last time we had you on with us, it might have been still during the Lovie Smith era. Nick Caserio has been a constant, and we always kind of wondered whether or not he was fit to be the GM of that organization. Did he find some kind of secret success? Did he get it straight, or was it just as simple as you got your quarterback, you got your head coach, and you started to get the right pieces in place, and now you've got an organization and a team that going into this year, they've got to be considered a contender given all the talent they have on that roster?
Yeah, I think, you know what, and I'll address that in 2 parts. Don't let me forget the Stephon Diggs part of it. But the first part, when things really started to change, was just simply with the hiring of DeMeco Ryans. The last time I talked to you, I I mean, I think I was still talking about Jack Easterby. He was the mysterious, shadowy figure that seemed to be operating everything from behind the scenes while Bill O'Brien was there. I mean, it was 2 years where the Texans were the laughing stock of the league, and for very, very good reason. Like, they were severely dysfunctional. I think when the owners and some of the people in the front office realized just some of the things that were going on, they cleaned house, and they were able to land DeMeco Ryans. Like, let's be honest, because DeMeco Ryans had played for the Texans. DeMeco Ryans' wife is from Houston. DeMeco just wanted to get back and coach the Texans. He just flat out said, he told them that in their interview, that this is the number one place I want to be. And it was pretty easy for Nick Caserio and Cal McNair, the owner, to make the decision after that. And that just changed everything because, DeMeco is one of the more beloved Texans players in team history, and it's not like he was one of the very best players in team history. He had just always been identified as a guy. I was in my last year in the NFL when he was a rookie, and we were calling him Cap, for captain when he was a rookie because he just carries himself that way. And him and Nick Caserio have a very good working relationship, and then obviously you get C.J. Stroud. And I think critically for C.J. Stroud, they were able to pair him with the offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, who comes from San Francisco, is in that Kyle Shanahan tree, and he's running a very Kyle Shanahan-style offense. It gives a young quarterback a blueprint for how to do things, and it takes away a lot of the uncertainty. So I think they were able to get just the very best out of C.J. Stroud. As far as the expectations going into this year, I thought that was I think one of the better things Stephon Diggs did when he got here was for all of his cryptic tweets and Instagram posts and everything, he just flat out said, "Don't put the horse in front of the cart." And I think it's important. It's important to be able to hear a message from a guy like Stephon Diggs, who was on the team in Buffalo, that for very, very good reason is thought of as the one that, okay, if they're knocking on the door, they're going to kick it in this year. You just got to get over that Mahomes hump. And I think he's seen firsthand that, man, it's not so simple. It's not so simple to beat Pat Mahomes or the Buffalo Bills or any of those teams in the league. And I think that's the message that a lot of the veteran players are preaching right now. They're all for positivity and everything, but just never forget how difficult it is.
Seth Payne, Sports Radio 610 in Houston, Rochester native, former lineman with the Jags and Texans as well. Seth, I marvel at all the millions that are spent on NFL scouting, and one team can take Bryce Young, and maybe Bryce Young ends up being somebody, but the fact that number 2, C.J. Stroud going to Houston. I guess my question is about Stroud, because we've seen other quarterbacks who you think they're on a trajectory and then you find out they're not. So what would be the reasons? What are your observations about C.J. Stroud?
I think there are a lot of things or questions that people had about C.J. that were understandable, but in the very fact that he kind of carries himself like with a very serious demeanor. He's always kind of got a look on his face like he's thinking about something deep. I think a lot of you'd hear these quotes from anonymous scouts or others that he might be hard to coach, and it's just been the absolute opposite. And I think that part of it is that he's very serious about his job, not just like Instagram #grind serious about his job. He's very much a football nerd, and you pair him up with Bobby Slowick, who's kind of the same way. He's just very much all about the ball and none of the distractions. And I know, like, CJ's had himself a good offseason, and he showed a lot of his personality on podcasts and everything. But when it comes to the football side of things, there's not a lot of sensitivity. There's not, and he's very, very intelligent. Like, he's doing a lot of things mentally that you're hoping your quarterback gets to by his third year in the league. So his ability to identify coverages, to adjust after the snap, to do play action where his back is turned to the defense and then re-diagnose what's going on after he turns back towards the defense, that's where he was really advanced. And you could see it get better as the season went along. And then I think, honestly, like, one of the other big things was just simply that they gave him Dalton Schultz, who's not an all-pro tight end, but he's a very savvy veteran who'd worked with a young quarterback in Dak Prescott. And Tank Dell and Nico Collins were just way better than people thought they were. Nico Collins had a lot of injuries. Tank Dell was an unknown, tiny rookie. So that made a big difference for him, too.
Seth, you mentioned Mahomes and the Chiefs and every team that's kind of chasing after them, and I look at the landscape of the AFC, and I struggle to think that anybody can get past them and that they're going to three-peat and all of that. And I don't know, Seth, commiserate with me for a minute. I mean, what's it going to take for the Bills or for the Texans or for any team in the AFC,
The Ravens,
to get over on Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, because it feels as if they are in this dominant position once again?
I think, for one, at some point, and I hesitate to say this because forever, it felt like for 10 years I kept saying that the San Antonio Spurs would get old, and they never got old. But I think that at the very least, Travis Kelce he's going to get old. I mean, he got old this year during the regular season somewhat, but there's no accounting for that playoff experience. And I think some of the things and some of the issues that the Chiefs had during the regular season, at some point you can't just rely on Pat Mahomes being Pat Mahomes if you've got issues at offensive tackle, if your wide receiving core is inexperienced. And really, the thing that on defense, it gets frustrating because Steve Spagnuolo is really, really good at developing his cornerbacks. So you might lose a stud cornerback, but I feel like they've got two other replacements ready to go. So I think they're still going to be good defensively. You just got to figure out a way to affect Pat Mahomes. And it's like the simplest thing in the world. But if you go back to the Giants and their ability to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, they just were flat out able to affect Tom Brady. And it sounds simple enough to do, but you got to have a bunch of horses up front to do it, or you got to be a brilliant blitzer to be able to do it.
Seth, I do remember one of our first conversations with you, and that was when Houston was kind of stuck in this whole legal process with Deshaun Watson, and he was still a Texan. He was suspended. Now that we're at the other end of this couldn't have gone any better, right, for the Texans, other than the length that this took. And we do have some Browns fans in our area here in Western New York, as you know. What would you say to those Browns fans? As that's a good team, but me myself, I'm not completely sold on Deshaun Watson.
I mean, it's a really good roster. They should be. I mean, look, we played the Browns last year when they were on that run with Joe Flacco. And the first time the Browns played the Texans, they destroyed the Texans. And you got into the playoffs, and some of Joe Flacco's tendencies turned up. Mm-hmm. I think that, I would tell you thank you if I were talking to the Browns themselves. But that risk that you take on a guy that really, honestly, he had come into his own in that 2020 COVID season. Deshaun played really, really well, and he was running the Bill O'Brien offense, which is, basically just Bill O'Brien's offense was basically trying to get guys like Brian Hoyer to play like Tom Brady. And it's a lot, just go up to the line and call the right play, and then, dial up a perfect pass to the right guy. But Deshaun had really figured it out, and it kind of clicked for him in 2020. Meanwhile, Bill O'Brien got fired, more because he was a bad GM than he was a bad coach. Even without Bill O'Brien there, Deshaun was really clicking. I don't know what to make of Deshaun because he's just been such a hodgepodge and he's been so injured. And I see him do things on the field that we never saw him do even when he was a young player. I mean, there was that play. I was just going over some Danico Autry plays. He was a defensive lineman the Texans signed. And there was a play last year where Danico Autry, playing for the Titans, was tackling Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun turned around and threw a pass, not a fumble, not all that, threw a forward pass directly backwards, trying to get to the running back. And it was a fumble. The running back managed to get a hold of it, but he's just done so many curious things like that. I would just say you gotta hope for the best and hope that the old Deshaun emerges and that he really does latch on to that system that they run where there was Stefanski. I'd always wondered how Deshaun would do in that Gary Kubiak / Kyle Shanahan style system because I think there's a lot of parts to it that would make Deshaun really lethal. He's just got to be able to execute it.
Hey, Seth, while we're having a broader conversation on the AFC, I mean, it is the downtime, but there'll still be some free agent signings and I know a lot of teams have their kind of idea of what their roster is going to look like when they get through training camp. But I think the T. Higgins story in Cincinnati is an interesting one, and hearing that he signed his franchise tender over the course of the weekend. How do you think this all plays out? Is there a benefit there for Higgins to sign it before July 15th, or did he just give away any leverage that he may have had going into training camp in terms of his ability to hold out?
I always go back to, he might just be going that same route that Kirk Cousins did, which was they want the the team sometimes wants to have that grace period to be able to get their ducks in a row, or to maybe make the player be uncomfortable. And if the player is willing to say, like, yep, I'm going to go play on the franchise tag, and put it down one more year down the line, it really all becomes an individual decision. I know, like, some players are very wrapped up in wanting to be the highest paid player. Sometimes they'll sign a deal that doesn't even have that much guaranteed money, but they just want to have that to be able to put on the sticker that they're the highest paid player. It might come down to just how T. Higgins is wired, and he understands it's a boatload of money, and just, okay, I'll play for this year, and if not, we'll do it. We'll do it again next year if I don't get a new deal. Like, some guys just want the simplicity of that.
Seth Payne, our guest here, Victor native, now doing sports radio in Houston. Seth, what about the Buffalo Bills? This is a team that hasn't figured it out how to get past Kansas City, and now you look at the roster, and look, we're saying on our show that roster certainly isn't as good as it was last year. On paper, a lot of things can change. So your observations on what you see in Buffalo entering 2024?
I've paid more attention to Buffalo than I usually do since maybe the most this offseason since I was a kid and I was a Bills fan. But obviously because of the Stephon Diggs situation, I've watched the Brandon Beane press conferences. I've watched Josh Allen. I watched a lot of the film from last year really specifically after the Joe Brady change was made, and after the debacle in the Denver game and everything else. Mm-hmm. I think that Josh Allen made a lot of strides last year in becoming a true NFL quarterback when it comes to how he operates, distributing the football, understanding and reading the defenses, all those things. And it wasn't always seamless. It wasn't always smooth, but in a lot of respects, they were a better offense after Joe Brady took over. I don't think you can really make a change like that until you have a full offseason to digest everything, and for Joe Brady to really install everything that he wants to do, get all the terminology down, everything like that. And I think that Josh Allen's going to take a big leap forward this year. And I'm saying that about a guy that's already been one of the very best quarterbacks in the league. But I think the source of frustration sometimes for Stephon Diggs last year, not that this excuses some of his outbursts or anything, but I think there were times as Josh Allen is figuring out how to distribute the ball better, there were times where Stephon Diggs was the read, but Josh Allen used to stick on Stephon Diggs for way too long. He learned that he has to move on from it, and there were times I think Stephon Diggs may have gotten frustrated because of that, or because he was just being used and on so many of those short and intermediate routes. But I think it made Josh Allen a better quarterback. And sometimes there is that addition by subtraction if you take away the security blanket for a player. We saw that with Deshaun Watson. As bad as that DeAndre Hopkins trade was for the Texans, as dumb as it was, and like how pathetic the return was, there were elements to Deshaun's game that improved the next year because he just flat out could not lean so heavily on DeAndre Hopkins. So, Josh has a lot more experience and has achieved and performed at a higher level than Deshaun Watson had at that point. So, I mean, look, you look at the Bills roster right now, and I know that Brandon Beane likes to call it, he's not calling it a reset year, it's a transition year. Whatever you're doing where you're moving on from some of the older, more expensive guys into the younger guys, it's the reason the Bills are that 10.5 wins on the win total right now is because Josh Allen is so good. And I think because there's a certain expectation that Sean McDermott's going to put a respectable, at the very least, defense out there, even with some of the losses. So I'm still bullish on the Bills. And look, frankly, as a Texans fan or a former Texans player, my memory of the last time I saw my team take the field was that they just got absolutely destroyed by the Ravens. The Bills and the Ravens are the two teams that could put up a fight against the Chiefs last year at the end of the season. And things change from one season to the next, but you can't discount that.
Seth, there is another element to the Diggs trade to Houston that I want to get your perspective on, because you have a unique perspective. You're a guy that's been in an NFL locker room for your entire career. You're around guys. This notion of guys being alphas, and we knew that when Steph Diggs was here, he was clearly an alpha, almost to the detriment of Josh Allen. And now that juice, Josh Allen's words, Steph brought juice to the locker room, a leadership that was unduplicated. With that gone, there's an opportunity there, or it would appear that there's an opportunity there for Josh to kind of assume that alpha role, to bring that juice. How important is that in an NFL locker room? And just from what you witness or what you see of Josh Allen and his demeanor, do you think he has that in him?
Oh, no. I'm glad you brought that up. Situations just matter so much, like in life and in sports. Like there are things when you start talking about the chemistry of the team that a guy's personality can change if he's put into a different situation. And the situation's different for Josh Allen this year in that, he had a little bit of a little brother, big brother relationship with Stephon Diggs. And I could totally see, especially if from the outside looking in, if sometimes that big brother is almost being like the authoritative bigger brother over the little brother, and you're still a young quarterback, that perhaps, that can maybe hold you back a little bit. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but, perception is reality in a lot of regards. And some of the social media stuff or some of the sideline outbursts, Stephon Diggs might not think it's a big deal, but that's stuff that everybody sees and everybody's watching, and it affects people, whether they understand it consciously or not. And I think sometimes, like moving on and having Josh be entirely in charge, I would go back to Eli Manning, really. When Eli Manning, when the Giants let go of or moved on from Jeremy Shockey, I think that was probably good for Eli Manning. And Eli, I think Josh Allen has more of a alpha personality, or however you want to frame it, than Eli Manning does, perhaps. But I think sometimes removing that guy, even if they've got a good relationship, but if that guy is kind of perceived as the older brother, and especially if he can be demanding of the ball, I think that can help a lot for a quarterback.
Seth, before we let you go, who is this team that is 6 games below 500 in the AL West right now? Although it is just the storyline, just too many injuries right now. Is there, with the new format in the majors, is there any hope there for your Astros to at least sneak in as the last wild card?
They'd have to go on a mega run. Just to get to 90 wins, they're going to have to play better than 60% wins for the rest of the season. It's tough. The pitching injuries have been really bad, and that's with a roster full of starting pitchers that are guys that they've kind of come on as younger guys, and you're not even 100% certain what they are yet. But they've underperformances offensively. Jose Abreu turned into Jose Abreu went from being still pretty dang respectable the year before he got here in 2023 to just he fell off a cliff. He's just one of the worst players in baseball, and they cut him on Friday. So it's not like he was the only reason they were losing, but he was just a huge drain in the lineup and not very good defensively at first base. They're going to have to go on a run, and they would need a few of their guys who have been in MVP conversations before to be playing like MVPs. So I'm about as pessimistic as I've been a long time about that baseball team.
Seth, it is great having you on with us, man. I appreciate you making some time for us. Look us up if you come home at all, and hopefully we get the chance to do it again real soon, man. Enjoy your week.
Yeah, I'm jealous you guys having training camp at St. John Fisher. I miss August up there as opposed to August in Houston. So have fun.
Well, you could broadcast remotely. I mean, we lend you a studio here if that's an issue.
Oh, maybe.
We're all in the family, Seth. We're all in the family. On that free to download Odyssey app that we'll be listening for you on Sports.
Am I going to screw you up if I tell a 1-minute story?
No, of course not.
Okay. I used to work on my family's farm in the summer. That's work that sucks. It always made me appreciate football more. But when I was in college, I would always take a couple of days off just to go watch the Bills at Fredonia. They were still at Fredonia at the time. just to kind of watch from the stands and see how these guys operated and how they worked and everything. And I was honestly kind of jealous of the young guys in Rochester once the camp got moved to St. John Fisher, because it really is. If you're a high school football player, a college football player, it's so motivational and it's so instructive. If you can just go out there and just watch those guys and how they work, how they operate, their technique, all that. It's really cool that Rochester has that.
Yeah, Seth, what a different era too. You could Fredonia, just pull right up and didn't need a ticket, just walk right up, no problem.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Yeah.
Well, Seth, you've got an open invite. You can join us here anytime in the sports bar. You know that, man. We're your hometown station, and we wish you nothing but success there at 610 Sports Radio 610 in Houston. We'll be listening for you in the Odyssey app. Hope we get the chance to do it again soon, bud.
All right, awesome. Thanks, James.
You got it. Seth Payne. You can hear him, Payne and Pendergrast, on Sports Radio 610 in Houston in the free-to-download Odyssey app.
I just think it's funny that there's another one. Reset the clock there. He called you Gene at the end.
Did he call me Gene?
He did.
Oh, I thought he said guys or dude. Did he say dude? I want to roll the tape.
Go roll the tape. Roll it back.
Did he call you Gene? Yeah, we'll roll the tape. All right, that's fine. Love Seth Payne. That every time we've had that guy on, he just brings it. Like, no question, that guy, he knows his Houston sports, knows what's going on with that team.
How he answered the question, like that was always puzzling to me. Like, why did they rip up the contract and say, nope, Steph, you're in the last year of his deal, just to avert any risk that he could be a malcontent about the front-loaded contract or back-loaded contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ball out for us this year. And next year, you want to stay here? We'll take care of you. Or you'll go somewhere else and you'll be taken care of. When we talked last week to Ty Dunn, I think he laid that out exactly the way we all envisioned it. Like, if you're Steph Diggs, maybe you asked for that trade before the season started. Maybe that led to you being dismissed from day one of mandatory minicamp. Maybe the middle of the season comes around and you see, oh, we've got a new offensive coordinator and he wants to run the football more. And, oh, by the way, the running back's last name is Cook. Where have I seen this movie before? This is Minnesota all over again with a defensive-minded head coach who thinks he knows offense. And he wanted out. And he got his wish. Greener pastures. And I have a feeling in Houston, it might not run through him, but it's going to be more pass-centric than certainly what the Bills want to do.
Right. It's where would he get more targets? I can't say for certain it would be Buffalo.
Not based on what you saw at the back end of last season.
And it's not a bad thing. It really isn't. If the Bills become this more balanced sort of attack, because what they were doing before wasn't getting you the result you needed. You need to develop an offense and a defense, for that matter, that's going to be Kansas City. And the way you kind of do that maybe is a little bit more ball control.
Dallas. You need to play like Dallas. That's the Bills team I think we all want to see week in and week out. The consistency of that Dallas game.
Just maul them.
Just maul them. Now, part of that was Dallas not showing up, right? But that was a game that we remember on the schedule. We had it circled like, oh, that's going to be a tough one. No, it wasn't a tough one. They absolutely mauled them. And if you can see the Bills play like that consistently, going to be hard for any team to step up and punch them back in the mouth. So maybe it is that physicality that was lacking during the Diggs era that they're going to try and reinstill here with Joe Brady's new offense. Love that conversation with Seth Payne. That was fantastic. And we'll get that up and on demand for you shortly here in the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Search out the Sports Bar. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget, we've also got our YouTube channel for you to check out. We're streaming on Twitch. You can watch the Sports Bar there, and we're always sounding our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Happy Hour is next in the Sports Bar. We've got a Game 5 in the NBA Finals. We've got a U.S. Open to discuss that is a memorable U.S. Open, one for the ages.
And we got a Bills training camp schedule, too.
And we've got a Bills training camp schedule. We'll get to all of that and more along with your calls at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
95.7 and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
WROC AM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester. Sports update.
Buffalo Bills training camp schedule is out. The first practice is July 24th. Camp at St. John Fisher University will break on August the 8th. Tonight's Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Boston with another chance to win the title. They're up 3-1 on Dallas. Jason Tatum is ready.
But Game 5 is the biggest game of the season because it's the next game on the schedule. So going with that mindset and just have fun. And that's really what we talked about today, to get back to having fun and being the team and how special we are in the team that got us here.
Rochester Red Wings are off tonight. They've won 4 in a row. They begin a series tomorrow night in Syracuse. Garrett Cole coming off his rehab start here on Friday. He makes his season debut with the Yankees Wednesday against Baltimore. Tuesday, it's Game 5 of Panthers-Oilers. Florida up 3-1. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We do have Bills news, though. They released the training camp schedule for St. John Fisher next month.
Mike Danger.
Training camp. You gonna go? Can't wait.
Let's go! Gene Battaglia.
Could you ask for anything more out of this camp? I mean, yeah, it seems like we are living in the golden age of Buffalo Bills football right now.
72-year-old Bill Belichick is dating a 24-year-old former cheerleader. What drama at the U.S. Open. DeChambeau rallied while McElroy withered.
He who shall not be named.
Meantime, Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight as the Celtics go for the closeout of the Mavericks yet again, this one in Boston. Tip-off shortly after 8:30 Eastern.
Kyrie sucks.
I have made the decision myself. No matter what happens, next year is going to be my last year on television.
Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's rivalry.
The Stanley Cup Final.
A 1-2 pitch to Mookie Betts. And he is hit by the pitch. He goes down.
Mets win their 5th in a row, beat the Padres 11-6.
Grimace.
That's what's in.
Garrett Cole and the Rochester Red Wings.
The Cheetah.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Rory's one of the best to ever play. And being able to fight against a great like that is pretty special. For him to miss that putt, I'd never wished it on anybody. It just happened to play out that way, and he'll win multiple more major championships, there's no doubt.
That's the voice of somebody whose image, in my opinion, has been completely rehabilitated in terms of whether or not you're a fan of this guy. That's Bryson DeChambeau, U.S. Open champion.
Yeah, what is it where, and I can't be alone on this, I'm pulling for the live golfer over the guy we considered one of our own here in Rory? Like, I mean, look, Rory can rehabilitate his image too, but you know what? You know what doesn't help? Speeding away and not being accountable and running out like you did. Golf is a tough sport. It really, really is. It's tough mentally. It's tough that you're on an island. It's tough that you there's no teammates. It's only you. And you just had one of the most spectacular chokes in major history. There's no way around it. And the least you can do is just answer a few questions or shake your opponent's hand or whatever it is. And he took right off in front of all the cameras.
How much do you think it is that guys might not like Bryson DeChambeau either? Like, we remember the old memes of
DeChambeau and Koepka.
Yeah, Koepka and DeChambeau had a nice little rivalry going there, and Koepka just roll his eyes because DeChambeau would roll up. I mean, like, we might like DeChambeau after he wins his U.S. Open, his second now. But the rest of the golfers might look at him with disdain because of how he's built or because of his personality or wherever, whatever his background is. There are multiple reasons why they might look at him or view him through a different lens as we as fans do. And as Rory just, one of those guys is going to look at DeChambeau and be like, I just don't like that guy.
That could be it. That could be a lot of it. I mean, like if you're in Hollywood or comics, let's say. 'Cause some comics are really good friends. Others hate each other.
Petty.
Yeah, petty.
Just real petty. And that's the move that Rory pulled. That's a petty move to say, I'm not going to be available to anybody. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave, and you're not going to be able to ask me any questions. That's kind of cowardly. Wow, what an unbelievable finish. And I don't know if it's as much about Rory giving up the lead or DeChambeau fighting back and getting it. I want to say it's probably more about DeChambeau getting it rather than Rory giving it up.
I mean, just playing smart, like getting pars. You didn't have to do anything. Saving the par on 18.
It's everything.
Yeah, but for Rory to get the yips, I mean, there's no other way around it. That's a putt that we can make. 2 feet 4 inches on 18.
Speak for yourself, man. I struggle. And those greens, look, those greens are they're otherworldly. I mean, you saw some highlights in your feed over the course of that tournament where you're like, oh my God, that green shouldn't do that to a shot that lands there. The way it that's just unfair. But yeah, Rory gives it up. DeChambeau gets the win. And you're right. Like, I found myself pulling for a live golfer. What?
Yeah.
We just want winners. I think that's really what it was. Not just winners, but how do you win? How do you go about your business? If you go about it and you've got a good attitude about it, you're gracious and you're humble. And DeChambeau, for what it's worth, I mean, everything you've seen of this guy so far this year, you see him signing hats, giving up golf balls.
Yes.
He's being personable. He's being approachable. I think if people have a problem with professional golfers, it's that they appear to be on this different level. They're aliens. They're inapproachable aliens. You just can't get close to them. And DeChambeau's kind of broken down that wall a little bit. At least this year he has.
Just be humble and polite.
No.
Like, boy, one of our greatest Olympians ever, Carl Lewis, our country didn't like him because he was talking about his endorsements and his everything. Me. No, that's a big stiff arm. So what I think happened here, Danger, was do we have this anger toward Liv anymore? The story hasn't changed. Like, Phil Mickelson called those people scary MFers, right?
Yeah.
Still the same people. Still people you really can't trust, okay? We really want to cheer for this tour. What happened? Well, they made a mistake putting Greg Norman as kind of the face, somebody who's standoffish. I think, Danger, that they had good PR people and that they're coaching them up as they should. And for Rory himself, maybe he should kind of search out one of these PR people because, look, your personal life is your personal life. And, yes, we've had some fun at his expense. I mean, but come on. You have to act professional. That was not it yesterday.
He who shall not be named, just driving off in a hissy fit. Tough way to lose. And guaranteed he's frustrated with his own play. But I have a feeling there was more to it than just that led to him leaving early. And DeChambeau, again, gracious in his victory and becoming a more likable figure than I think we ever thought he could be based on how he's played exceptional this year. He's been really, really good this year. In fact, out of all the live guys, DeChambeau has been the one constant. He's been the one guy who's been consistently good. It hasn't been Rahm. It hasn't been DJ. It hasn't been Koepka even. It's been DeChambeau. So is this the beginning of something bigger? Tomorrow is going to be an interesting day for golf.
Yeah, we were joined Friday by Brian Koziel, and it's like he gave us a little nugget. Like, ooh, what he was hearing. Tuesday would be the day we're going to hear some sort of announcement, PGA and Liv. I asked Brian the question, the follow-up, okay, there's going to be this announcement. What would be the best case scenario? And the best case scenario would be, hey, these Liv guys, they can cross over and play the bigger events. I think that's what we want. They're in Hartford this week. That's not a big bet, it used to be, but talking about the Memorial, talking about the TPC, talking about those events that aren't majors, but
they feel like it.
You would get you to kind of tune in.
Yeah.
And sure, like that's also part, and therefore the Liv guys could accumulate their points. You have to make nice, right? Liv's not going to go away. The PGA isn't going to go roll over. The PGA has skeletons in their closet, you figure. So better that they all come to some sort of agreement. It just apparently took a while. I know we're going to talk about Bill's camp, but we just got some breaking news, Danger, and this is bizarre.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
So the NHL draft is not this Friday, but that's next Friday. So that's 11 days, right? That's it. Columbus just fired everybody. They fired their head coach. They fired their director of hockey operations and their GM.
The Blue Jackets?
Yeah. Just clean house.
Well, the Blue Jackets.
Oh, who cares?
I know, but you're doing this right before the draft?
Yeah, that doesn't seem appropriate.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
What was the last we heard of the Blue Jackets? Was it Patrick Laine?
That was Laine last week requesting a trade, and he was in the player assistance program last year.
I wonder if he feels better given today's news. I feel so much better. Where do you need me? I'll be there. I'll be at the rink. I mean, I'm only half joking. I mean, I if he's sick, I hope he's getting the treatment that he needs. If he's unwell, I hope that he's going to, be on the mend. But at the same time, yeah, that change in your environment can mean a lot. You've all worked with bosses, or you've all had bosses that at one point or another made you feel pretty crappy about getting up every day and doing your job. And then that person's gone, and all of a sudden you've got like a different perspective and an outlook on your career.
So you think this is the owner? Like, okay, Patrick, we really want you here. Everybody goes.
Pretty good player.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good player. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why you would do that with the draft just a few days away. Who's going to operate the draft if you blew out everybody?
Right. Like, let's have a fan. Come on down.
Is the owner doing it? Like, what are they doing? So they got rid of the coach and the hockey ops guy?
Yeah, the hockey ops guy. I should read this again. I think he's one and the same as the Don Waddle is his name.
So the GM and the coach, 11 days before the NHL draft, have been fired. Dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things.
Well, I think if you wanted Patrick Laine, you might get him cheap here.
Wow. All right.
So there's that.
To the Bills, the training camp schedule is out. We now have the dates and times for their practices at St. John Fisher University. First practice we knew was going to get underway Wednesday, July 24th. Every practice at St. John Fisher, save for Sunday, August 4th, will occur at 9:45 in the morning.
How far we've come. I'm not talking about our conversation with Seth Payne where, you pull up at Fredonia and there would be a snow fence and you're watching. I'm talking about the Rex Ryan era. You didn't need a ticket. You would just go in the morning. You only needed tickets for the night practices. What are these things they call night practices?
Haven't seen one in a while.
No, not in the Sean McDermott era. Everything is 9:45 in the morning with the exception of one Sunday on August 4th. That's 11:45. Sean's being nice. He's letting him sleep in a little bit after Saturday night out, I suppose. Look, it makes all the sense in the world. If the Bills, more often than not, feel like a team that's prepared entering the season, get the work in early. Thunderstorms happen more often than not in the afternoon than they do the morning. Make sure you get your practice in. So what's the headline of this schedule? It looks the same as every other year. I know the guys on One Bills Live are saying, it's actually the same amount of practices.
It's not shorter.
No, it starts earlier, July 24th.
Mm-hmm. Sean McDermott, Brandon Bean, listening to the Sports Bar. We will be live for 9 of their practices.
9 times.
So 9 live Sports Bar episodes coming your way this July and August from Buffalo Bills training camp. I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun. I hope we have the same kind of access that we've had in the past. We were joking earlier about when we get pulled aside by Bean or McDermott and have a sit down. Hey, you guys, listen. You guys need to talk about us a certain way. Never happened, and probably will never happen. But we're looking forward to the opportunity.
And look, in fairness, I think we're pretty fair.
Well, it's one thing to be critical without things to back it up. But if you're being critical with facts to back up your criticism, hard to fight it. If we're being misinformed, that's something else entirely. If we're uneducated on the topic that we're discussing, that's another thing entirely as well. We can speculate. I mean, we can speculate about a lot of different things. How close to the bone that speculation hits, I guess, determines whether or not we get that sit down or not, right? Hey, you guys, come over here.
What's funny, the one guy we always wanted, we never got, and we will never get him.
Sean McDermott.
Well, not funny. You say McDermott, Diggs. If we had Diggs on, when Diggs speaks, he's insightful. He will give you an answer. McDermott, he's total coach mode.
Well, what I loved about Diggs at training camp last year specifically, with everything that was going on, with all of the turmoil of minicamp, coming right in. You wanted to hear from him right away. You did. You heard from him right away. And everything he said, even though he probably didn't want to say it or didn't believe what he was saying, he said it. And he did it with a smile on his face. And he was charismatic and intelligent. And, I mean, it squashed whatever problem you thought there might have been just by his words. Mm-hmm. And his actions on the field to start the season were right there with it as well. We don't have any of those real storylines going into this year. There's, it's boring just the way Sean McDermott wants it. And we'll learn more about some of these undercurrent storylines, the offensive line, the wide receiver position battle, the pass rush, corner, safety. Like
it's funny. You mentioned all those, and they're all legit. But talking with Seth Payne, Seth Payne, Sports Radio 610, Houston, Payne and Pendergrass, the show you can listen to in the Odyssey app, Victor Native. The topic that's interesting is Josh Allen. We know he has the talent, but Josh Allen as being a leader. And Seth bringing up an example, it's something that we all know, but we didn't think about it. Like, you look at Eli Manning, and Eli Manning came in, and he's not Peyton. But he came into a locker room with big personalities. Remember, Tiki Barber? They got rid of him. You actually made fun of Eli. Jeremy Shockey, that was the one that Seth brought up. But and that's the example of, okay, these guys are gone, time to kind of blossom. Danger now with Diggs out of the way. I'm just curious to see and observe Josh Allen and see if he's taking a different approach here.
Yeah, the word I'll always use, the word that I'm looking for, the action that I'm looking for is matable. Can he be matable? Not a jerk. I don't want him being a jerk to his teammates unless he absolutely has to be a jerk to his teammates to get through to them. But we've yet to see the Josh Allen, the upset Josh Allen. We've seen the woe is me, I need to do better, the down and out, downtrodden after a loss Josh Allen. I want to see a little fire. We hear that he's got that dog in him. We hear it. We've heard it from his teammates, from countless teammates. But now it's time to see it. And with Diggs out of the way, that opportunity presents itself, and he can be that vocal guy in the locker room and on the sidelines, the true leader of this team.
It's funny, like that Matable, that was Mahomes last year in the loss to Buffalo in December. And Mahomes was so angry, but he couldn't go off on Tony. Had to go off on the official.
Right.
At that point. Right. But that's the example. Right?
And yeah, sure. That's an example. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as like Travis Kelce screaming at Andy Reid. I mean, we remember that, but we don't talk about that. Like, that just was a blip. But when it happened, it's like, oh my God, that's terrible. Like, he really, I'm not even saying that. I don't even know that I necessarily want that. I just want, Ray Lewis once said he was given a speech to, I can't remember which college locker room he was in, but he said, I'm pissed off for greatness. And I want Josh Allen to be pissed off for greatness. It's not a bad teammate. It's not ripping off your teammate's head if they screw something. It's just being pissed off for greatness. I want you to be mad. I want you to be mad when things aren't being done the way you expect them to be done. And now with Diggs out of the equation, maybe he has that opportunity to be even more of a leader, the true leader of the Bills. And so, yes, everything that we're talking about, whether it be the position battles or the position changes, it really is still going to come down to 17 and his ability to lead, his ability to make the right decision on the field and potentially off the field as well. Game 5 tonight in the NBA Finals. Let's hope it's more entertaining than Game 4. Gene, I know you were watching the Red Wings and you were watching Garrett Cole. Man, I was excited. My daughter had a sleepover. I'm like, okay, they basically are running around the house. Wherever they want to go, they're going to go. I can't really say anything. So I'm going to hunker down. I'm going to watch in the bedroom. And, dude, I'm like, this game sucks. This is terrible. I don't know that I could find a worse finals or a championship game than Game 4 of the Celtics and the Mavericks. Find me one where they emptied out the benches in the third quarter. It was over.
Yeah.
Just disgusting. So
disappointing too, because Friday night was fantastic. Anybody that went Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but Friday night is not a night you will ever forget. Going out and seeing Garrett Cole dominate the way he did. By the way, Cole is pitching against the Orioles on Wednesday, so that is it. That'll be his last minor league start. Thought I was going to go home and watch like the second half and see a good kind of no, I didn't even turn it on. I'm like, are you kidding me?
No. Yeah, just a complete waste. So maybe tonight we have a champion in the NBA. Maybe it is a gentleman's sweep, and Boston is able to clinch their 18th title?
18.
On their own home court. So that's tonight. We'll have a reaction to that tomorrow in the Sports Bar. We should also mention tomorrow, scheduled to join us, our good buddy and host of BetQL's Send It In, PJ Glasser. We'll get some winners. And Sal Mayorana, the DNC, is going to stop by at 4:25 tomorrow afternoon.
Inviting me on to talk a little Yankees here, too.
I mean, there's no better follow. I'll say it. There's no better follow if you're watching along the Yankees on Twitter than Sal. I put Sal just in front of our buddy Rotolo. Rotolo is a pretty notorious Yankees tweeter as well. If you enjoy that kind of thing, Sal is he's not going to sugarcoat anything. He'll be critical and he'll heap praise when it's due. But the Yankees are on one, and they're getting back their ace.
This just coming across the wire, we go to Los Angeles to the courts. Roger Goodell testified today in the Sunday Ticket lawsuit that the Sunday Ticket is a premium product.
All right, good. This is what I wanted, because now that we're in this lull on the NFL schedule, that the mini camps are done and the teams are broken up and we're not going to hear from them again until training camp, I want this to take center stage. I want this to be the NFL story.
It's funny that Goodell is on the stand. Quote, we've been clear throughout that is a premium product, not just on pricing, but quality. Fans make that choice, whether they wanted it or not. I'm sure there are fans who said it was too costly. Class action lawsuit covers 2.4 million residential subscribers, 48,000 businesses from 2011 to 22.
Oof. I got out at the wrong time, Gino. I canceled my Sunday Ticket in 2010 after the Bears fired Lovie Smith. I got out at the wrong time.
If the NFL is found liable, a jury could award $7 billion in damages, but that number could balloon to $21 billion because antitrust cases can triple damages.
Yep. And break up $21 billion over the course of 32 teams. Divide that up. This is something that we should all be paying more attention to as football fans, because if it goes against the NFL, it's going to change the way we consume this product and how much we spend on this product.
Well, it also does this permanently put a big, big dent in the salary cap, meaning, hey, Jerry Jones, would he be upset if you paid $10 directly to him and you streamed every Cowboy game rather than split this or that? Like, the bigger name teams will get more of the pie. So is that still going to be distributed evenly? Because
they got to do a revenue share. That's the only way that works out. I mean, if it does get to the point where they dissolve the Sunday Ticket, they do make it something that's, I mean, they probably can keep it at a more fair price. But if they do offer up the opportunity to stream individual team games, you have to do a revenue share because poor teams like Buffalo, Jacksonville, they can't compete with Dallas. They can't compete with the Giants, the Jets. You just have to be the Steelers. You have to be able to share that revenue. And I think for the most part, the NFL sees the bigger picture and they see the value in doing that, working together rather than being siloed. That'll be an interesting thing to watch here over the course of the next couple of weeks.
Oh, it's going to get better tomorrow. Who's expected to testify tomorrow? Well, today was the commissioner. Tomorrow is the real commissioner, Jerry Jones, expected to be testifying.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this is fantastic.
That's good. I'm glad that that's picking up some steam. That's because nobody was talking about it.
No.
That story was buried. Nobody was talking about it. And now, good. Now that things have died down and teams have dissolved for the summer, let's get to this juicy, potentially historic class action lawsuit. I can't wait to see how this all rolls out.
Do you really think, if it's a jury trial, do you really think they're going to side with the NFL on this?
I'd be shocked.
I know.
I'd be shocked.
I know. Time to settle.
We got to get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, busy weekend in sports will set you up for tonight, too. It is Game 5 here. Connor McDavid has been great. The LA Dodgers have a big problem. And, hey, baseball, there was one team, their broadcast last week. We'll play some of the audio. I'm surprised more teams don't take this approach.
All right, we've got that coming up. We got last call coming up. You can join us at 585-866-4FAN. Pull up a stool at 866-4326.
Brown with more on One Bills
Training
Live.
camp wraps up August 8th.
Yeah, they only stay out there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and
a little over 2
they'll be
weeks,
back
2 weeks.
here permanently before they even play their first preseason game, which is the 10th against Chicago.
First practice is July 24th, camp breaking on August 8th. It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight. Boston with another chance to wrap up the title. They're up 3-1 on Dallas. Rochester Red Wings are off tonight. They begin a series tomorrow night in Syracuse. The Wings have won 4 in a row. Garrett Cole coming off his rehab start here in Rochester on Friday. Cole will make his season debut with the New York Yankees on Wednesday as the Yankees will be taking on Baltimore. Tuesday, it's Game 5 of Panthers-Oilers. Florida up 3-1. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home, by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Rory's one of the best to ever play, and being able to fight against a great like that is pretty special. For him to miss that putt, I'd never wished it on anybody. It just happened to play out that way, and he'll win multiple more major championships, there's no doubt.
Is there? Is there no doubt, Bryson DeChambeau? Because I have doubts.
Yeah.
Oh, I have doubts.
Oh, yeah. Like, I love what our guy Rotolo put on social media, too. Like, no, that you don't recover from something like that.
I have doubts.
Yeah.
It's taken 10 years, and that was your best chance in those 10 years, and that's how you gave it up. He who shall not be named is going to struggle.
Karma. I had one theory on the quick getaway yesterday, Danger, was because Rory McIlroy had a long drive from North Carolina to this week's tournament in Connecticut, the Travelers. Well, this breaking news just in. Rory McIlroy has pulled out of the Travelers Championships in Hartford.
Oh, you coward. You absolute coward.
His next tournament is going to be overseas in Scotland.
You coward. What's wrong? Show up, you coward.
All he had to do was be one over, like a bogey on 15, a bogey on 16, and then a shocking bogey on 18. 2 feet, 4 inches, and that's what happened. Meanwhile, you had a tremendous save by DeChambeau on 18 to save par. He wins it, the second U.S. Open championship at DeChambeau.
Yeah, Rory, part of why people aren't going to like you moving forward is more than just what we hear, the rumors of what you did off the course. It's this. This resonates loudly. You take your medicine, man. You own up to your mistakes. You own up to your shortcomings. You win with grace. You lose with grace. You don't go storming off like a little bitch and then cancel your next event. You suck. That's terrible. What a coward.
Maybe he's going home to be with the wife. And
all right, hey, listen, that I'll accept.
Yeah.
If that, but we're not going to hear that.
No.
That I would accept. If that, you're going to go home and be a better father and a better dad and a better husband, okay, get your affairs in order. But don't duck the media. Don't cancel events, you coward. Don't hide from your performance. Come on.
What's more unlikely, that we have a Game 5 in the Stanley Cup Final or a Game 5 in the NBA Finals? After not showing up for Game 4 tonight, the Boston Celtics with a chance to close this out on their home floor. Now, there should be some sort of sense of urgency in Boston to end this tonight. It was only last year in the Eastern Conference Finals in Miami, the Heat were up 3-0 before Boston forced a Game 7, and had not Jason Tatum rolled his ankle in Game 7, maybe we would have had Boston in the final last year. 8:30 tonight.
I think we get a Game 6 in the Stanley Cup Final. I do. I don't know, the way Edmonton rolled Florida, I feel like that could carry some momentum into Game 5, and you could get a Game 6 out of the Stanley Cup Final. I still think Florida wins it.
I think Boston.
It's over. Tonight, Boston finishes it. I just think they, like the way they pulled up stakes at the end of Game 4. It's almost as if to say, all right, well, we'll live to play another day, and by the way, we'll clinch at home if we have to.
Whatever happens with Edmonton, Connor McDavid, not to blame. He's been great. The Oilers center now with 38 points this postseason. That's the most by an active player in a single postseason, and it's tied for the 5th most ever. 32 assists alone, breaking the mark for a single postseason held by Gretzky. 1988. McDavid had 23 points in games following a loss this postseason, passing Doug Gilmour with 20 in 1993 for one playoff year. Game 5 tomorrow night in Sunrise.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they can get one more before Florida closes it out. I mean, there's going to be pressure on Florida tomorrow night to get this done on home ice, finish this off. Because if this does go back to Edmonton, oh boy.
The LA Dodgers have a problem. They've lost their leadoff hitter, Mookie Betts. Betts getting hit by a pitch on Sunday. It's a fractured left hand. No timetable for return, but good news is that apparently the surgery is not going to be required. There won't be any. Betts batting .304 from the leadoff spot for the Dodgers. Miguel Rojas now takes over at shortstop. That's a downgrade, and it's likely that Shohei Ohtani is now going to bat leadoff.
Yeah, that's just bad for baseball. I hate that. He's a star. The game is more fun when he's in it. That sucks.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Rochester Red Wings drew a combined 36,914, according to the Wings PR department. That is the most for a three-game stretch since the opening year of the ballpark in 1997. We were joined earlier today by James Wood. He is hopeful to return soon. He's got dealing with a hamstring pull. Wings on the road this week at Syracuse.
Unbelievable weekend for Innovative Field and for the Rochester Red Wings organization. And a big congratulations to Dan Mason and the entire crew for holding a major league weekend in a minor league town. That was fantastic.
Yeah, in the top baseball broadcast this week, Danger, without any doubt, I love these clips of Snoop Dogg in Milwaukee. You threw out the first pitch, and they invited him up, and he just kind of took over from there.
I came in where the players come in at, because I'm a player. Get up in there. Oh, he's saying if he can't throw that, he ain't got no arm like that. No, he don't.
He does, though.
No, he don't.
Oh, he does.
Who is that with that rocket?
Ellie De La Cruz.
Oh, Lord.
With a howitzer.
He got a rocket in his pocket. He made that.
Dig it.
Dig it.
Yeah. I mean, how great is it when you see Snoop in the booth or Charles Barkley showing up during an NHL game? You're like, yes, sign me up. Put these characters, these bigger than life personalities in a booth and let them give their natural. It's why we like the Manning cast, right? Like when the Manning cast gets somebody that you normally wouldn't get their reaction, but they have a great reaction. That's fun. It's entertaining. Those moments, those are the viral moments that we all kind of live for now. And also, just because I brought up his name, Charles Barkley announcing his retirement.
I saw this. Are we really buying this?
No, this is Charles speaking on it.
You know, there's been a lot of noise around our network the last few months. And I just want to say, I've talked to all the other networks, but I ain't going nowhere other than TNT. But I have made the decision myself, no matter what happens, next year is going to be my last year on television. And I just want to say thank you to my NBA family. You guys been great to me. My heart is full with joy and gratitude. But I'm going to pass the baton at the end of next year. I hope the NBA stays with TNT. But for me personally, I wanted you guys to hear from me because I'm not doing any more interviews. Don't y'all be calling me. Nobody calling me. I'm not talking about this again, but I want to tell my NBA and NBA TV and TNT family that I'm not going to another network, but I'm going to pass the baton to either Jamal Crawford or Vince Carter or you, Steve. But next year, I'm going to just retire after 25 years, and I just want to say thank you.
Pretty clear cut.
Oh, come on, Charles, though. Don't duck out of the public eye.
Here's what he's going to do.
Run for office?
No, he didn't have to do any of that. All he needs to do is start a podcast. If Charles Barkley starts a podcast within 3 years of his retirement, he will have a top 10 podcast. Yeah. And if you're Charles Barkley, that's a minimal lift for a major haul. Like you'll have people lining up to sponsor your podcast or pay you to do the podcast, or whatever it is. That's Charles Barkley. That's got to be the path after he quote unquote retires. You just keep hammering checks as long as people want to throw money at you.
Oh, I feel bad for Jamal Crawford or whoever. They'll be good, but you can't follow that.
Yeah, tough shoes, big shoes to fill. That's Shots. Last call next, 866-4FAN. If you want to pull up a stool, 585-866-4326, and we'll set you up for tomorrow afternoon in the sports bar as well. All on the way next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Well, none of us know what the world looks like 24 hours from now, but by the time we get back on the air tomorrow at 3, we may have an NBA champion.
Probably. We should. Like, what would be the panic level in Boston if they lose tonight on their home floor and they got to go back to Dallas?
Depends how they lose, too.
Yeah. The stat, you'll see it tonight. You may have already seen it on the scrolls. 156-0 all time. Teams that go up 3-0 in an NBA best of 7. 156-0. Nobody's ever come back.
Has anybody pushed it to a Game 7? That's happened before, right?
Yeah, just Miami last year pushed it.
Yes.
Boston
I thought we were
against
talking
Miami,
specifically on the final. That's
No.
all-time in all series.
All-time in all series.
NBA series. And in the NHL, a little bit more likely, but still rare.
No. Hold on. Time out. I'm glad you asked. Because the one and only championship for the Rochester Royals in 1951, the Royals were up 3-0 on the Knicks. The Knicks won the next 3 and was the Royals winning in Game 7.
Okay. You're telling me that Rochester had an NBA team, Gene? Is that what you're telling me? Go sell that somewhere. Look at you. You can tell it's trivia night tonight. Gene is just a wealth of knowledge, just a treasure trove of knowledge in preparation for trivia tonight. Are you accepting any team names for tonight? Will the Leo Shufflers be in attendance tonight at trivia night?
I'm never going to let that one down. Never. I'm not the only one, Leo.
No, incorrect. Sorry. Yeah, no. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
That goes my dream of getting up and singing with Yacht Club.
No, that ain't happening either, pal.
Happening.
Captain Obvious isn't going to put you up there if you're some kind of novice. You got to be an aficionado, man. You got to know the lyrics. You got to know your do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do's when you're up there. Yeah, no. Lido Shuffle? Not Leo Shuffle. Lido Shuffle. Tomorrow, we'll have a brand new show for you with PJ Glasser, host of Sending It. Now, whatever happens tonight, we will react to it tomorrow. And PJ, part of the BetQL network, will give us some winners. Now, we'll be talking Major League Baseball. We'll react to what potentially could be the end of the NBA season or looking ahead to a Game 6. My God. But PJ's great, brings it every time he comes into the sports bar. He'll be stopping by tomorrow at 3:25. We look forward to that. Short week for me. Gino, you're here Thursday.
I'm here Thursday.
Wednesday, Juneteenth, we celebrate that. So Gino will be here Thursday.
With who? We'll figure that out.
We're going to work on that.
We're going to work on that,
yeah. So enjoy the action tonight. There's plenty of it, including potentially series-clinching Game 5 in the NBA Finals. If you missed James Wood, Rochester Red Wings outfielder, potentially soon Washington Nationals outfielder, or Seth Payne, Victor native from Sports Radio 610 in Houston, who joined us in the 4 o'clock hour. Both of those conversations are up and available for you now wherever you pod. You can find the Sports Bar in the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you pod. We are there. And inside the free-to-download Odyssey app, you can go in and listen to any part of the show that you may have missed for the next 72 hours with Rewind. Thanks for watching on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester or streaming us on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe or comment while you're on the channel. We appreciate that. Keep some wind in the sails of our pirate ship here. Until then, for Gene Battaglia, I am Mike Danger, JR Sport Brief, next on The Fan Rochester.